Let's go!
Thank God it's Friday!
The guy! Turks, Cenk Uygur, John Hyde, all over the guys. Actually, a huge day for you. A little bit of a power panel in the second hour. Is it back?
Oh.
And everybody's in person. A new guest host tonight. So gonna save that as a little fun mystery for you guys. And then later tonight at 8 o'clock at the Revolution, former Congresswoman Marie Newman joins us, and we're going to talk to 4 Democratic congressional candidates. It's already created some degree of controversy, so that'll be fun. So that's at 8 o'clock. Make sure you're checking that out. All right, and then on tonight's show, we might attack Iran, we might attack Cuba, we might attack both. Oh, it turns out we have a new secret weapon that makes people's brains feel like they're imploding from the inside. So that
Fox News.
Yeah, it is not Fox News, but that's a good guess. Yeah. And so tons of stuff to get to here, so let's take it away, John.
Yes, okay, let's start off with something light, like locking up your political opponents. Donald Trump has really been spiraling this week, posting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times on Truth Social, including calling for more of his political opponents to be investigated by his team of personal attorneys at the DOJ. We'll get to the specifics of why Jack Smith was on this list, but first, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so this guy's utterly unhinged, and this is not normal. We can't get used to this. Constantly saying for either no apparent reason or based on old grudges, I don't like it, I want to talk about political crimes, is not a thing. It's not a thing. And if you think it is, that's a giant problem. All right, we'll discuss it.
Yeah, and bear in mind for context, they said that Joe Biden was weaponizing the DOJ or whatever, just because there was an investigation of Trump. Joe Biden didn't talk about it. Joe Biden didn't direct Merrick Garland to do it. He didn't talk with Jack Smith. There was no connection whatsoever. Just that it existed was proof that it was political. Donald Trump posted this on Truth Social, which is not proof that it's political. Based on his testimony today, there is no question that capital D deranged Jack Smith should be prosecuted for his actions. He destroyed the lives of many innocent people, which has been his history as a prosecutor. At a minimum, he committed large-scale perjury. And then there's a bunch of Truth Social posts where he gives examples of the perjury that Jack Smith committed. I'm kidding, there's none of that because he didn't break the law, he didn't do anything wrong. He just investigated Donald Trump, which you're not allowed to do. And Jack Smith is on his mind because Jack Smith, of course, he gave private testimony to Congress, I think last month. He did it this week on TV, you could watch it, they were asking him questions and everything. And I wanna go into just a little bit of his defense of the investigations into Donald Trump, which you'll see here.
We followed the facts and we followed the law. Where that led us was to an indictment of an unprecedented criminal scheme to block the peaceful transfer of power. Our investigation developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in criminal activity. If asked whether to prosecute a former president based on the same facts today, I would do so regardless of whether that president was a Democrat or a Republican. No one should be above the law in this country, and the law required that he be held to account, so that is what I did.
And of course there he's referencing before the Supreme Court swooped in and decided that Donald Trump should be above the law. This is back when we had a constitution and stuff, so out of date a bit. But yeah, he was investigating him because he committed the crimes. He stole the documents. There's no dispute about that. He just stole them. He did do the insurrection. He did organize the fake electors. He did pressure Raffensperger to find 12,000 additional votes. He did send a mob to the Capitol. This is not like there are people who think that that's awesome. But there's nobody that does not acknowledge that those things happened. And so that's why Donald Trump wants him investigated. And he's not the only political opponent of Trump that he's calling out. We'll get to the others in a bit, but first, Jack Smith.
Okay, so first of all, John's of course right about there's a giant difference between the president, who's not supposed to interfere with the Justice Department because it's supposed to be neutral and represent the American people. And what if the president does something? Or there's a reason why it needs to be independent. So Biden didn't say anything to Merrick Garland, as far as we know. No one's ever presented any evidence of that. And then Merrick Garland sat on his ass for 2.5 years and did not pursue Trump. So why he did that is a little bit of a mystery. I think it's because he's pathetically weak. But by the way, when he did finally pursue him, I think it was a little political on the timing. So if you really wanted to go after Trump, which I think they should have, 100%, he totally lied and tried to steal that election, has never presented one piece of evidence, never, that it was stolen, okay? In a courtroom, here you go, you love lawfare, Donald Trump. You have a golden opportunity to present your entire case. Zero evidence, never, okay? So what I would have done is I would have prosecuted him on day one. Because you got it, Jack Smith said this in one of the proceedings, and he's right. If you don't set a precedent when someone breaks the law and you make it clear that it is wrong, if you don't do that, then you're gonna get it again and again and again, okay? So Merrick Garland was the opposite of doing lawfare, except at the end, again, I think that it was kind of, the timing was terrible. But for the first 2.5 years, he's like, I don't know what to do. Do I enforce the law or not? He's like, he was a terrible attorney general. So, okay, now you turn to Trump. He's like, interference, yeah, of course I want to interfere. I don't like that guy. That guy bothered me when I tried to steal an election, okay? Go after him and put him in jail no matter what. I mean, it couldn't be any clearer interference. He's saying it publicly like a moron. Remember, the first time he wanted to go after his political opponents, he meant to send a text to Pam Bondi and he accidentally put it on Truth Social. He's so monumentally dumb and corrupt.
Yeah.
So, okay, so it's not surprising that he's gonna try to put Jack Smith in jail. He's gonna try to put everybody who criticizes him in jail eventually. You think he's gonna stop at Jack Smith? And by the way,
he didn't start at Jack Smith. They already did Comey and they did Tish James, and he's been investigating everybody. Everybody committed mortgage fraud. Did you know that, Cenk?
Yeah, and by the way, you think he's gonna just stop at Democrats or political figures or whoever it might be? Go ahead. Like, for example, today I see Glenn Greenwald, who has been all over the political spectrum, but is a generally principled guy. So he's principled on ICE and he's criticizing how they're calling people domestic terrorists now, US citizens. We're gonna talk about that later in the show. So now, the opponent of Donald Trump, how dare you criticize Donald Trump? You arrest him for whatever goddamn reason. Is that what you want? And by the way, I guess this is the right wing saying, if for whoever agrees with this, them saying we trust Democrats. Wait, why would you come to that conclusion? Because basically you're saying, now I know if a Democrat gets into office, they're not gonna prosecute me in the same way that Trump is, because Trump's a madman, and I know that. And I know Democrats aren't gonna break the law to do that. That's why I don't mind it. I feel pretty comfortable, right? Because otherwise you'd be like, what? You're gonna give the president that kind of power to arrest any political opponent? What if a Democrat comes in and starts arresting all of us?
Yeah.
But you're not worried about that, are you? Otherwise, you would be opposed to this.
Yeah.
So like, thank you for the admission that the Democrats in that case are more honest than the Republicans and Trump, because it is a flat out admission. And now, of course, I know what some of you are thinking, oh, what do you mean? They started the lawfare. Do you know that how many times Donald Trump has sued people? It's in the thousands. People lost count. They think it's around 4,000. Donald Trump has been doing lawfare his whole life. And you know why? Because that's what rich people do to abuse anyone that gets in their path. Oh yeah, I have an army of lawyers and you're just middle class. You don't have any options at all. Lawfare! And he would do it over and over and over again. Now he has the power of the presidency. He's like, before I would just try to ruin them economically for criticizing me or harming my feelings or whatever. Now I get to use the law and abuse it and put them in prison. Now this is what a tyrant does. Yeah. Don't tread on me.
Well, and he doesn't have to pay his lawyers. We pay his lawyers. We pay Pam Bondi and we pay Todd Blanche and all of that. And he just dispatches them after his opponents.
Okay, all right, one more thing about the whataboutisms. Well, they did it to Trump. In your mind that they did, right? I think Trump has broken the law an unbelievable number of times. By the way, I think by the end of his term, a lot of people who voted for Trump will agree with us and go, damn it, it turns out he was a con man the whole time. Okay, but let's wait for that moment. A quarter of them, in my estimation, already realized that, and we're gaining more and more people as we go along. But wait, if you thought it was so bad, I don't understand that. I'm a principled person, so I don't understand that logic of, so lawfare, what they did to Trump was terrible, terrible, the worst thing, so let's do it to them. How does that make any sense? So here, I'll give you an example. Like, I think the worst thing in the world is the genocide that Israel's committing in Gaza. So I speak out against it very, very forcefully all the time. You guys see me doing it, right? If I said the genocide that Israel did is so terrible, that's why we should do it to Australia. You'd be like, what? Or to Israel. Like to say, okay, you know what, strike back, let's do a genocide against this. No, no, no. It isn't about Palestinians and Israelis, etc. It's about the principle of genocide is bad. I don't want anyone doing it. I don't want them doing it. I don't want us doing it. I don't want anyone doing it. And if you think, yeah, I don't like that. I want to be unprincipled. I want to say when they do lawfare in my mind, that's terrible. But when we do lawfare, that's awesome. Well, okay, you have no principles at all, and you're not a thinking person. That's okay. You're like blindly partisan, and there are blind partisans on both sides. Congrats, enjoy your blind partisanship.
Yeah, there is blind partisanship on both sides, but I also think, I don't know, I think that we take for granted that like hypocrisy is a bad thing. I think we just assume that that's a thing everybody thinks. I don't think that that's evenly distributed across the political spectrum. And I'm not saying it's natural, I'm not saying it's cellular. I'm saying that conservatives have been taught a lot of lessons by Fox News and right-wing media for literally decades. And the lesson has not been that everything should be fair and equitable. They're pretty clear that they don't want things to be equitable. So we shouldn't be surprised that they think that hypocrisy is totally fine. You're seeing it on the world stage. Trump is saying the strong beats the weak. That's what happens. They think they're the strong, the Democrats the weak, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And in terms of, you pointed out, Jack Smith saying, you set the precedent. If you don't investigate them, if you don't charge them, then they'll do it again. That's why so many people have this sinking feeling in their gut about the midterms this year and about 2028. The Republicans have no reason to believe that stealing the election or even just trying to steal the election, even a violent coup, is a thing that they should avoid because there's consequences for it. There's no consequences for it. There's no consequences for them politically. There's no consequences for them in terms of their freedom. And they've also, now Trump, because he didn't get any consequences, was put in a position to tell all of his followers, you know what, if you do it for me, I'll pardon you next time. And you won't have any consequences either.
So, blind partisanship and hypocrisy are two different things, right? So yes, I think that the Republicans have been more hypocritical. I agree with you. In terms of blind, I mean, our side, Joe Biden, thought Joe Biden was young. So like we've been as blind as.
I said there's blind partisanship on both sides.
Okay, so all right, so.
And Kristen Sinema is a principled politician. Yeah, I know, it's there.
And by the way, the establishment is the blindest of all. They're like, oh, corporate Republicans and Democrats, they're all lovely, okay? Oh, you outsiders, terrible, trying to represent the American people. So like everybody's blind in their own way, and like the establishment is so blind, especially the journalists. They're like, money in politics. What name so?
Yeah.
Like they're like, I don't even see it. How could you not see it? All the bribes. And so, okay, now to the point you're making about this overall in terms of like the elections coming up. Look, John, that's a big topic. And what I would say about that is, if he goes towards like messing around with the 2026 elections, so that's obviously a nightmare scenario. So I get that there will be a part of his base that'll be like, yeah, great, I love it. No, it's a what about is they did it to us, and plus we're not doing it. We're not doing it, right? And plus they're eating cats and dogs, okay? But I think he's gonna lose independents completely, and not just lose them, but like if he actually, and the independents believe he's messing with the elections, they'll come in the streets with us.
I hope so. I mean, I think he's already lost the independents. He's got like 25%.
Yeah, he's already lost them in a big way, but I don't mean like in a voting way, right? But I mean like in the streets.
I hope so, I hope
so.
Like
we're not interested in tyranny. That's not, we're not interested in that at all.
You've seen his executive orders, like he's getting all the voting data, he's trying to crack down on mail-in ballots, like all the tweets that he sent out, that was not just bluster, he wants to do those things. We'll see. I personally think ICE is gonna be dispatched to a lot of key districts. I think to interfere on election day, we'll see.
And I'll tell you this, yeah, whether it's Republican, Democrat, or whoever it might be, and look, the corporate Democrats don't really tend to go towards, they go towards slow motion, soft tyranny, right? As like the corporate kind of corporate rule dominating all of us and slowly sapping our life energy out of us. That's the uniparty, right? So I get that. But overall, guys, when tyranny comes and you're not against it, you're gonna reveal who you are, right? Because I saw all the "don't tread on me" flags. I've seen all the guys saying that they're for the Constitution. I hope we don't find out, because I hope Trump doesn't go in an extreme direction on the elections. But if he does, we're gonna find out who's a patriot and who never really meant it when they said they love America or the Constitution.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we might be a little bit too hard on them. I think they were being very honest when they said "don't tread on me." Me, that person, they're Somali. I don't care what happens to them. It didn't say "don't tread on any of us."
Well,
anyway,
okay.
Speaking of Somalis and related issues, Donald Trump also once again wants Representative Ilhan Omar to be investigated, probably locked up, maybe deported, possibly executed. I don't know how the rest of the year is going to go, but he was tweeting about her once again, saying, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is worth over $30 million. There is no way such wealth could have been accumulated legally while being paid the salary of a politician. She should be investigated for capital F financial and capital P political crimes, and that investigation should start now. So obviously, just blatantly telling Pam Bondi, investigate this congressperson I don't like. I would just remind everyone, Donald Trump apparently made about $1.4 billion in the last year while being paid the salary of a politician. But apparently he can earn that totally legally. Ilhan Omar cannot earn, I don't know, 0.001% as much. Who knows? In any event, here's what we actually know about this total non-scandal that is being investigated by House Republicans as if it's a serious thing. So in a May 2025 financial disclosure, Omar listed 2 large assets tied to her husband, whom she married in 2020. This is Tim Manette. One is a winery business valued between $1 million and $5 million. And the other is a venture capital firm valued between $5 million and $25 million. Based on the valuations, her and her husband have a net worth between $6 and $30 million, obviously a large range, minus liabilities, such as Omar's student loan debt of between $15,000 and $50,000 that she disclosed on a 2024 form. I guess she just forgot to use her many millions of dollars to pay it off for some reason. In any event, so you might wonder, okay, well, that does seem like a lot of money. I mean, she didn't used to have that much money. Well, she didn't used to be married to a guy who has part ownership in multiple businesses. So each of those 2 businesses has a very wide range, $1 to $5 million, $5 to $25 million. Those are very different. Also, it's not that he has $1 to $5 million or $5 to $25 million in these businesses. The businesses are worth that. They're owned by multiple people. And none of them are her, by the way, it's her husband. And yet, because she's married to a person who has this money, well, clearly she's doing something illegal to get it. I mean, in that case, lock Donald Trump up for Melania Trump receiving a massive bribe from Jeff Bezos for this documentary that nobody ever asked for. Again, when they do it, it's the best thing ever. When they take literally billions of dollars in crypto investments from the Saudis or the Emirates or whatever, totally cool, don't even look into it. He's selling NFTs, he's getting a $400 million jet. All of that is totally above board and shouldn't even be looked into, and how dare you even bring it up. But she married a guy that has, compared to the rest of Congress, not even that much money, and she should be immediately investigated by Pam Bondi. And maybe that will happen, maybe that won't happen, but she is being investigated by House Republicans right now, Cenk.
Yeah, so let's go over this real quick. So we were in favor of the Stock Act when the Democrats were in charge, and the Democrats were pretending, well, I mean, maybe we could, look at that, we just couldn't pass it, right? Now Republicans are in charge, and we're still in favor of the Stock Act, which is to say that they should not do insider trading in Congress. And the Republicans who earlier were pretending they were in favor of it are now all of a sudden opposed to it. Oh, look at that, okay? This is how it goes around and around and around. So in reality, if you investigated these guys, you would find that tons of Republicans and Democrats have taken information that they know from the government that the public does not know and made a tremendous amount of money from it. And yes, that includes Nancy Pelosi. Now, in this case, is that what seems to have happened? No, she married a wealthy guy, mystery solved. Wow, crazy. By the way, what happened? I thought she married her brother. That was a different conspiracy theory that the right wing had. So is it the brother, or is it the rich guy, or is it her stealing? Can we make up our mind about the conspiracy theory we want to go with for Ilhan Omar? So, because then you look a little foolish when you go with all 3, right? A
little.
So, okay, now talk about enriching yourself. Are you insane? So not only did I give you the numbers, 30 million from marrying a rich guy, to Trump, 1.4 billion. And by your own words, Donald Trump, you can't possibly make that as a politician. So you must definitely be guilty. And I guess you're guilty, what, 30, 50 times more than Ilhan Omar. So maybe we should lock you up for 50 more years than her if we're gonna lock her up. I mean, this is your logic, it's not my logic, but I'm gonna come back to the worst corruption in a second. What were you gonna say, John?
Yeah, just to quickly say, the 1.4 billion isn't his net worth. That's what he made last year. This $30 million is an estimate of her total, of her and her husband's total net worth. It's not even apples to apples, and even if it were, it's a tiny little apple and an absolutely massive apple.
Look, if I told you all the corruption that Trump has done just in the last year, it'd take the rest of the 2-hour show, okay? But I'll give you 3 quick examples. Qatar gives him a $400 million jet, just gives it to him. That's normal, that's not anywhere near normal, okay? Number 2, why is he letting all this guys who committed white collar crime out of prison? He's giving them all pardons, and oh, look at that. Then they give money to his meme coin. That is wildly illegal. That is just a bribe. That is as corrupt as it gets. And by the way, a lot of the right wing know that meme coins are junk, and they now hate them. And Trump is using it to just get bribes. Period. I mean, look, there should be consequences for that legally. But I know it'll never happen. I got it, etc. Right? But then finally, the latest thing he did is the biggest outrage I've ever seen. So we attack Venezuela, we take their leader, we kidnap them, and then we start seizing their oil from the tankers. And then he's like, I'm gonna put it into my own bank account in Qatar. What? What does that mean? Imagine if Joe Biden stole some other country's oil, and maybe you're okay with that so far, and then he puts it into his own bank account in a different country? Oh, come on. And you have the nerve to talk about corruption. I mean, Donald Trump is by far the most corrupt president we have ever had. It's not within a country mile. I mean, and the Republican Party, look, again, we're nonpartisan fair show in America. I bash the Democrats who are corrupt 24/7, okay? But Rick Scott committed over $1 billion in Medicare fraud. The senator from Florida is literally one of the largest crooks in American history. He robbed little grandmothers and grandfathers, and with the ill-gotten goods from those robberies, he used it to run for office, and he became governor and senator. And people are still celebrating Rick Scott. Now, if you ever voted for Rick Scott, or anyway, I'll leave it at Rick Scott. You should have a very tall glass of shut up juice for the rest of your life about corruption, because that guy's it's just an out and out thief. He's one of the worst guys in the country. So clean up your own house and don't do this nonsense. By the way, last thing, John, when they do these false charges of corruption, when the city is actually overflowing with actual corruption, yes, on both sides. Yes, Trump does it more spectacularly, okay? But it's overflowing. But when you do the false charges, then the establishment gets to say, no, there's no corruption at all. That's like when they made up those charges against Ilhan Omar. Ignore everything else, ignore everything else. It's like when people make up false charges of racism, it hurts the ability to fight real racism, right? Same thing with false charges of corruption that Trump throws out all the time.
Yeah.
It hurts the ability to fight real corruption.
Yeah. And I just want to end with something I think deeply ironic, and it has to do with what you've been alluding to. There's so much just projection. This Tuesday he did this press conference and spoke for I think he's still speaking actually. But anyway, one of the things he said was he was attacking Somalis again because you can just be openly, wildly, explicitly racist now against Somalis for some reason. And he says, you know what they're good at? That's about the only thing they're good at. They're good at pirating ships at sea, big ships. Donald Trump has literally been going around the Caribbean, blowing up ships, seizing them, stealing what they have, and then burying it in offshore accounts. And the Somalis are the pirates.
Yeah, guys,
it's insane.
All you got to do is fill in the blank. If somebody says, "Oh, the Somalis are good for stealing ships," okay, take out Somalis, put in your own group, and see how you like it. All white people are good for is stealing crap. That's the problem with white people.
It's insane.
You'd be like, "That's insane," because it is insane.
Yeah.
But when you say it about Somalis, you think somehow it's right? No, it's not right. It's like literally the definition of racism.
100%. Okay, why don't we take a break? Lots more to get to, including a big focus on foreign policy coming up after this.
I love cows. love cows.
All right, let's go to Twitch. Mad Maddie Dragon says 11-month Twitch sub-anniversary. I've been watching TYT since 2016. Here's another 10 years, guys. It's Friday. Let's do this. Indeed, I love that. Thank you. I'd love to, for all of us to be doing this for another 10 years. YTP Renewed says prosecutorial discretion should not apply to coup attempts. Danger Mouse 17 says 55 months of Bezos bucks for my awesome TYT fam. I love you guys. I watch you every day because you give me hope. I also feel comforted knowing that we're not alone and our movement continues to grow. Thank you for your honest reporting and all that you do to help us overcome our despair in these dark times. Thank you. You guys are wonderful. We love you having you as part of our community and family. And by the way, the Bezos bucks, if you don't know, Bezos hosts Amazon, which owns Twitch. And if you have Amazon Prime, subscription to us on Twitch is free, but we still get the money from Jeff Bezos. So the way you can do that and really help the show, it take about 30 seconds, is tyt.com/prime, tyt.com/prime. Okay, now we go to our members on tyt.com. Spider-Man Dragon says, the rich and powerful are always blind unless it affects their bottom line, then they're laser focused. Yeah, that is generally true. Yeah, in my experience, the wealthy, they think everyone else is crazy. They're like, why is everybody so upset? Why don't they just calm down? Everything's totally fine. Like, oh, you guys are so radical. Everybody's radical, right? That's because, yeah, your life is good. But 95% of the country doesn't have that good life. But rich people almost know no middle class people, let alone poor people. So they literally are confounded. They're like, I do declare, everyone I know is having a great time. Stock market's up again and again and again. Why are people complaining? Oh, the poors. So, but yeah, you touch their money for a second, all of a sudden they get super rational. Okay, David Visti says Trump will grant preemptive pardon to himself and anyone who wants to help him steal the next election and all future elections. And then if they fail, the Democrats will shrug and honor the pardons. By the way, yeah, probably. Jack Callahan says, please mention Anthony Aguilar is now a candidate for Congress in North Carolina. Hey, look at that, I just mentioned it because you mentioned it. So Jack, he actually texted me earlier today. We'll get Lieutenant Colonel Aguilar back on here. He's an American hero and he's running as a terrible Republican in North Carolina. So make sure you're checking that out and supporting him. Jack's Left Tricep of Fury says, Johnny Ty looking sharp. Hard to disagree with that.
I like cows.
I almost wore a gray jacket. We have this uncanny knack for matching. It was this close. Anyway, Art Guy says, barely a minute goes by when Donald doesn't experience some kind of existential ego crisis. That is so true. That's because he's very insecure and weak. Eclectic Miscellaneous says, the world's a much worse place since TYT stopped dropping it on Fridays. Maybe if they start dropping it again, everything will magically get better or at least less bad. Ooh, that's an interesting theory. Let's get it ready, guys, to drop it in the second hour. You never know what happens. Fun for everybody. Okay, we'll be right back.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water.
All right, guys, a couple of real quick things. First of all, John, of course, hosts TDR, Damage Report. That's on at 1 o'clock Eastern every day, YouTube, tyt.com, everywhere we broadcast. And if you want a limited edition TDR hat, go to shoptyt.com. They have it now, and it's badass, and we love it.
Cool colors.
And a good way to help the show, and this applies whenever you're watching live or you're watching a video. Like, share, ring the bell. Those all cost nothing. They all take about 1 second, max 2 to find it, right? And so it's a great way to help without spending money or doing anything else like that. So we appreciate it. And then finally, we want to save you guys money. So Noble Mobile is our new partner. tyt.com/switch is how you switch your cell phone service. And I know people get nervous about switching their service. I did it, Anna did it. All of us who have done it have had zero problems because it's really on T-Mobile's network. So you keep the same phone, same number, same contacts, nothing else except your bill drops incredibly. The most you can pay is 50. I've never come close to paying 50 because they give you money back when you don't use your data, but we're all on Wi-Fi in all the buildings we're in, so you actually don't use that much data. So you actually are paying in the 30s. It's a crime not to do it. Once you do it, you're gonna say, why didn't I do it earlier? I wasted all that money. So tyt.com/switch. All right, John.
Okay, let's try to get a preview on some of the wars that might be launched over the next couple of days, starting with this.
Where do things stand with Iran? The U.S. has got sizable military assets. You know, we have a lot of ships going that direction, just in case. We have a big flotilla going in that direction. And we'll see what happens. Big force. We have a big force going toward Iran. I'd rather not see anything happen, but we're watching them very closely.
So as you can see right there, Donald Trump is continuing to threaten military strikes, possibly full-on regime change in Iran, as a large quantity of US forces at great expense are dispatched to the region. Cenk, your 2 cents?
Yeah, so look, when we attack this time, and I think it's gonna be when, we're not sending the USS Abraham Lincoln to have a picnic there. And we'll get to all the facts as to why I think it's going to happen. And Iran this time says we're not gonna just retaliate against Israel. America's attacking us, we're gonna attack back. And when they do, if we lose any soldiers, that is all on Israel's hands. And you should be furious at Israel for getting us into this war, bribing us into this war, manipulating us into this war. We have no business with Iran at all. This is 100% Israel's war that we are being made to fight. So remember that when they strike back.
Yeah, and look, there's probably a lot of people watching that do want intervention on behalf of the protesters. I just want to be very clear. Donald Trump does not give one iota, one quantum of a damn about any of the civilians in Iran. So maybe there's a good consequence that comes out of what he does. Maybe, we'll see, probably not based on his track record.
No chance, there's no chance that it's gonna be.
But that's definitely not why he's doing any of it. And I agree, he's not sending them there just in case. Come on, they're gonna spend billions of dollars on this.
Yeah.
They're going to attack.
So I'll get to my thoughts on Iran as well, but you're worried about protecting the protesters. You're attacking protesters here at home. You're not worried about American protesters. They're getting shot in the head 3 times by your own forces. And you're pretending to care about Iranian protesters? Who thinks that Donald Trump's heart breaks for protesters and that's why he might go to war and not the hundreds of millions of dollars he's gotten from the Israeli lobby? Come on.
So here's what we know right now. So US officials speaking on condition of anonymity say that, as we alluded to, the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln and several guided missile destroyers will arrive in the Middle East in the coming days. One official said additional air defense systems were also being eyed for the Middle East, which could be critical to guard against any Iranian strike on US bases in the region. And I will remind you where the scope of this might go. Now, the war that Donald Trump and the Israelis launched last year was supposedly about nuclear weapons. They've moved on from that. They're not even talking about that anymore. That was never the real reason anyway. Now, last weekend, Donald Trump said it's time to look for new leadership in Iran. So they're looking for a full-on change. It's gonna be a full-on regime change thing, probably followed with nation building, all the stuff that supposedly the America First whole thing was against. We'll see. Remember, Pete Hegseth was talking about no more of that type of thing. We'll see in a couple of days or perhaps a week. And Iran, of course, is responding with their own threats. Commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guard said the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Dear Iran have their finger on the trigger, more prepared than ever, ready to carry out the orders and measures of the Supreme Commander-in-Chief, a leader dearer than our own lives. And Iran's foreign minister wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal that said, unlike the restraint Iran showed in June 2025, our powerful armed forces have no qualms about firing back with everything we have if we come under renewed attack. An all-out confrontation will certainly be ferocious and drag on far, far longer than the fantasy timelines that Israel and its proxies are trying to peddle to the White House. And so, I think we've been pretty clear at this point that this is not just a negotiating strategy. This is not just in case. Is there any chance of that, or You think this is a thing of this weekend? This is a thing of a week from now? What do you think?
So look, guys, they said it was about the nukes that didn't exist, just like in Iraq, the weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist. So then they got rid of the nukes that didn't exist. Then they want to go to war again. So wait, I thought it was about the nuclear facilities, and Trump said the nuclear facilities were completely destroyed. If you're a cuck for Trump and you believe everything he says, then there is no threat left. Then Israel changed it to, well, did we say we wanted to attack because of nukes? We meant ballistic missiles, but almost every country has ballistic missiles. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. We want regime change, we want blood, but not ours, of course. Israel's gonna stay on the sidelines, make Americans die for this war, right? And make you spend billions, maybe trillions like we did last time on behalf of Israel to eliminate yet another enemy of Israel. This is all about Israel. Zero American interest in this, none. Zero. No one has ever said anything about American interest. They don't even bother. They're just like, well, obviously we have to murder them and decapitate their regime and change it and put in a shah, a king, etc., a dictator, and of course that will help Israel. Well, where does it help us? Why doesn't Israel go fight its own war? In fact, as you're about to see, Israel's a little worried that they might get struck in this attack. They're like, America, you do it, you do it, you do it, okay? Here's some bribes, here's extortion, here's Jeffrey Epstein, you do it, okay? And they're like, oh no, they might hit Israel. Well, then don't start the war, problem solved. So why do they want regime change, guys? Guys, they're never going to stop until they get regime change. It isn't about the missiles or the nukes or the protesters in the streets. Israel just slaughtered 70,000 people in the streets. You think they care about people dying? Israel's heart is so broken over Muslims being killed in the streets. How can you say that with a straight face when every Israel supporter was like 20,000 children dead? Well, I love it. They deserved it, they had it coming. They're all stupid Muslims waiting to be terrorists. That's why we murdered their children. Yes, they say, right? Then they're like, oh, we're so heartbroken about Muslim protesters being killed in Iran. No, so why do they want regime change? Because they don't want democracy. What if the protests work? Because there's two different things, guys, super important. Israel's hiding as usual behind human shields. Those are the Iranian protesters, right? There are real protesters who are mad about what's going on in Iran. And those guys, and the Ayatollah is not somebody that anyone is in favor of in America, right? And it's a dictatorship. So there's a real issue about Iran, their internal politics, and who should rule Iran. Israel's like, oh great, let's take advantage of that. But we don't actually want the protesters winning, because if they win, they might get a democracy, and a democracy in Iran might be even more hostile to Israel than the Ayatollah was. Because the Ayatollah cares about his own ass, so when he thought he might die, he was like, and he backed off a little bit, right? Yeah. But in a democracy, they might go more against Israel, so they don't want that. So that is why you're seeing all over American media, this clown, the Shah that they're parading around with a red nose. Hello, I'm the Shah Jr. I used to be the dictator's son. And Israel wants me to be the new dictator, so I'm gonna be the new Shah. And we think Americans don't understand what the word Shah means, so that's why we keep using it Shah. Shah just means king, which means dictator. By the way, he went and kissed the wall, and he went to Israel, the Shah that they want to install, and he said, I'll serve Israel, of course. So that this war is 1,000% for Israel.
And that is why, like when I point out that the motivations are that they don't actually care, that's not just like a side point. That has to do with the outcome that you'll have. And this is not purely hypothetical. We've already seen it in Venezuela. They took out the leadership, so now democracy? No, no democracy. No, they get someone that serves them and primarily serves American business interests. Yeah, Maduro sucked. The replacement, is that gonna be better for the people of Venezuela? Maybe, I guess roll the dice, but there's no guarantee, and certainly it is not up to them. There's no self-determination here where they get to choose, and there is no reason to believe that that is the case or that will be the case in Iran. And I actually do care about them. If I could press a button and yeet the entire regime into the sun and have it be replaced by actual democracy in Iran, I would do that because I do actually care about them. But I don't trust Donald Trump. I certainly don't trust Netanyahu to actually allow them to choose what happens to them. It'll be a different form, and we'll see. That said, do you want to move on to the other war that we might soon be launching?
Okay,
or do you want to talk about the death toll?
Yeah, so last quick thing here, guys. So you're seeing tons of propaganda from the Israelis / CBS. Oh, 12,000 died, 20,000 died, that's made up. It looks like though about 5,000 have died, but what you might not know, okay, and it's very hard to get information, and I condemn the Iranian government for the killings, I condemn the Iranian government for running a dictatorship in the first place, and I condemn them for shutting off the internet, just like Israel has, kills the journalists so nobody can see the genocide in Gaza. Iran is shutting off the power and the journalists, etc., so no one can see what they're doing. But also, Mossad and Israel has bragged about how they have provocateurs in the streets, and they are actively causing violence, killing the security forces so that there's a bigger bloodbath, so they could use it as an excuse to attack Iran. And so, but most importantly for us back here in America, okay, if you think there's never going to be a cost, and a lot of MAGA's riding high thinking, oh, we keep doing all these bombings and we never lose anybody. First of all, it costs tons of money, and the media never tells you about that because beloved Israel must be protected and all of our money must be spent on behalf of Israel. So shh, Jake Tapper will never tell you all the money we spend fighting these wars for Israel. But on top of that, of course there's going to be a cost. Are you crazy? You think that we're gonna go into war after war, bombing after bombing, and we're never gonna lose anyone? And the minute we lose someone, they're gonna say we have to go deeper into war. That's the trick every single time. Please don't fall for it. And every American soldier that dies is on Israel's hands, okay? Because there's no one in America that wants this war other than Israel first.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad things that could happen, but thankfully what's never happened before is that we go into a country, kill the regime, replace it with someone that the people didn't choose, and then a year or 10 years or 20 years later, that produces a new revolutionary movement or terrorist groups. That's never happened, at least.
Yeah, I mean, look at how brazen they are. Last time we did this, we did a coup in 1953 against Iran, and eventually we imposed the Shah, right? And then that led to the Ayatollah and the Islamic Revolution. So now our new genius idea is let's install his son. That's just gonna repeat the cycle. If you don't like Islamic extremism, you would never put a Shah in charge of Iran. But they don't mind any of that because it's more excuses. So Israel can go, oh, Islamic extremism. Oh, we're the only democracy in the Middle East. Why? They love the dictators. They imposed half the dictators in the Middle East on those Arab countries. Those are puppets for Israel. Half of those leaders in the Middle East totally and utterly work for Israel, and Israel loves that they're dictators because they suppress their own people on behalf of Israel. And that's what they would love to do to Iran, a dictatorship run by Israel. I have no interest in a dictatorship from the Ayatollah, and I have no interest in a dictatorship from Israel. Free Iran, and that does not mean bomb them and kill them. It means actually encourage in other ways, peaceful ways, diplomatic ways, economic ways, for democracy to bloom in Iran.
Yeah. Well, I think that's enough regime change. Let's talk about something else. According to a report from the Wall Street Journal, the Trump administration is pushing for regime change in Cuba by the end of this year, just in time for the midterms. And won't that be fun, Cenk? What are your 2 cents?
Now we're on to Cuba. I mean, how many countries is the anti-war Nobel Peace Prize seeking president going to start? This is madness. And what did we tell you about Venezuela? I said one of the reasons they're into it is because Marco Rubio is the Secretary of State, and he's wanted to invade Cuba his whole life, and you can't invade Cuba until you take out their daddy in Venezuela. So now that that's happened, here we go to more war from the peace president.
Yeah, and so to a lot of people, they probably wonder, why is this, why can we take like a week off? No, we can't. They have to do this. It's very important to them. Psychologically, ownership is very important. According to anonymous sources, speaking to the Wall Street Journal, Trump and his inner circle, many members of which have Florida ties, always a bad thing, by the way, see toppling Cuba's communist regime as the defining test of his national security strategy to remake the hemisphere. He believes that ending the Castro era would cement his legacy and do what former President John F. Kennedy failed to do in the 1960s, according to a US official who worked on the issue in Trump's first term. They worked on the issue in the first term because this is something Trump has been working on for the better part of a decade now at this point. And the Wall Street Journal notes what we have already acknowledged, that Marco Rubio has long been dead set on ousting the government of Cuba, and we will talk about him more The Wall Street Journal also reported that officials are working with Cuban exiles and civics groups to identify someone in the government of Cuba right now who would make some sort of deal with the US. I guess in some of these other cases, they have a person in mind. In this case, they're still shopping, I guess. In the meantime, the administration believes that their recent toppling of the president, at least, if not the regime in Venezuela, remember, 99.9% of the regime is exactly the same as it was. They think that that will serve as a show of force, I guess, to cow Cuba or anyone else who might want to aid them. And they believe that cutting off the subsidized oil that Venezuela sent to Cuba, that will obviously weaken the regime and make it easier to replace them as well. Now, Politico reports just today that Trump is considering a naval blockade to totally stop Cuban oil imports. They also want to stop these overseas medical missions that Cuba does, which is a way that it's a little bit of soft power, but mostly brings money back in. They want to stop them from doing that. Obviously, there's going to be a cost in terms of the medical care that's no longer being provided, but that's another thing that they want to do to put pressure on them. And so it really does look like they're gearing up. But important, they have no idea what the government would be afterward. They don't particularly seem to care. They just want to be responsible for taking out the one that's currently there.
What are we going to do with Cuba? Why are we doing nation building in Cuba? John, did we fix the housing crisis here?
We must have.
Is student debt gone? It must be all gone, right? Credit card debt that's like albatross around all of our necks, that's gone, right?
Trump capped the interest rates at 10% back on the 20th, remember?
Oh yeah, it's weird because I checked my bill and it didn't seem capped.
Oh, maybe he forgot.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he'll keep on forgetting that. And have we fixed anything here at home? Are we even trying to fix anything at home? Like Joe Biden used to brag about, all the NATO leaders love me. And his own staff would have to say, oh, sir, you're a little senile. And I got to tell you, no one in America cares about the NATO leaders. Like you're not going to win a re-election by going, foreign leaders really like me. They think I'm good on diplomacy. Like that's not an interesting thing. Now here comes Trump and he's like, I have started many foreign wars. I've done nothing at home, but I am the king of the Western Hemisphere. I will invade Greenland and Venezuela and Cuba because I am the anti-war president. Yeah, but bro, first of all, you're doing the same problem as Biden, but like on steroids. At least Biden, for all of his faults, didn't attack half the known world, right? So you thought Biden created too many wars. At least he got us out of Afghanistan, right? Whereas Trump is like, no, let's go into all these different countries. Again, just like in Iran, I would love for Cuba to be free, and they have political prisoners, and I don't think they're free. And you know what I would love? I would love a democracy in Cuba where they have a mixed economy. And they keep the healthcare system that they have, which is actually not that bad. We remove the sanctions so that they can get a new coat of paint in Cuba, which they haven't had since the 1950s, right? Et cetera. I would like them to join the rest of the world. Do I think the best way to accomplish that is to start dropping bombs on their heads? No, I do not think that's the best way to accomplish it.
Yeah.
Right? I know, diplomacy, I know, crazy talk, right? So this is not our fight, but I will say there is one silver lining here. I believe this is the one attack, well, maybe Greenland too, that actually has nothing to do with Israel.
Oh.
Okay, we did it.
That's refreshing.
Yeah, so this one just Marco Rubiolo.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only other thing I want to say about this, so you brought up the thing about Joe Biden not getting that wasn't going to play, and like why is Trump focusing on this so much? I think this is like maybe a thing. Well, first of all, they just want to do it. They want to do it for legacy. They want to do it for business, definitely. But also, I think it's a bit of like, it's like the most extreme online base capture. Like Trump talks to Stephen Miller, and Stephen Miller seems to believe, okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get in, we're gonna take control of everything. We're gonna do literally nothing to help the American people. We're gonna screw them over, not gonna solve any of their problems. But it doesn't matter because we're gonna start an American empire. We're gonna take over Venezuela, we're gonna take over Greenland, we're gonna threaten Canada, we're gonna take over Cuba, and that will distract everyone. Who cares what's happening in your home when we have this renewed American power abroad? Because he likes that, and some really weird online right-wingers find that to be like they can masturbate furiously over American empire or whatever. But regular people don't give a damn about that. That's why polls said 4% of America wanted to conquer Greenland, and like 10% want to try to make Canada the 51st state. This is a thing that really weird fascists online want, not regular people, not even regular Republicans, and definitely not independents. And so I think that they overplayed their hand. They thought that expanding our territory abroad and utterly cowing blue cities was gonna play much better than it actually has. And the American people are not nearly as interested in authoritarianism as Stephen Miller was led to believe.
Yeah, John, I don't even think this is like the online extreme right or anything in this case. I haven't heard a peep from them about Cuba. This is just the crazed Cuban activists in Florida who wanted to.
I mean, more like Greenland and Canada is probably a better example of it. But yeah, I think Marco Rubio is really driving this one.
But part of the reason why I say it's not even the crazed extreme right wing is because only 4% of the country wants to attack Greenland. So that means it's almost no one, right? And so the people who are doing it are the power players around around Trump. And those are the worst people on earth. And they're like, attack all of Israel's enemies, attack Greenland, attack Venezuela, attack Cuba, attack everyone. The defense contractors are gonna make money, oil companies are gonna make, I'm gonna make money, right? And Trump, and then so how do they get the moron Trump to do what they want? It's super easy. You remember what he said when he was, after we attacked Venezuela? He's like, there used to be this thing called the Monroe Doctrine. Like, it's obvious he just learned about it, right? They just told him about it. And that's like when we control the whole Western Hemisphere. And now people are calling it the Monroe Doctrine. You just did it. Nobody's called it anything yet. So what that means is Stephen Miller got in his ear. Oh, sir, you're gonna be the king of the Western Hemisphere. Everyone's gonna applaud every time you come into the room. Well, if you want, we'll get you like a nice little military thing with a bunch of medals. I know you never served because of the bone spurs. I know, but both are your heels, right? But you'll be like the glorious king. And then they'll call it the Monroe Doctrine. He's like, oh, I like that, Monroe Doctrine. It sounds like dumbass doctrine. So
feels like it too.
Yeah, have at it, Hoss.
Yeah. Well, why don't we take one more break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about that mysterious weapon that we're now finding out America used in taking out the regime of Venezuela.
I'm the most transparent president.
All right, let's go to Super Chat. Timmy D says the US regime loves dictatorships, just look at the Gulf countries. Yeah, it's a combination of those dictators came in, like the Saudis came in on their own in the beginning, but then we've been supporting them and Israel's been supporting them because they secretly suppress everyone that is against Israel within their own countries. The United Arab Emirates is now kind of famous for being an Israel cuck. And so that's why you have so many dictatorships. And then they ironically use the talking point of, well, we're the only democracy in the Middle East. I mean, if you don't count the 5.5 million Palestinians we've enslaved. Hey, Jake Tapper, tell everybody that we're a democracy. We're the best democracy in the world. But wait, how about the 5 minutes? Shut up, you anti-Semite. Okay, so, all right. YTP Renewed says, US meddling in Iran gave Christianity a bad name. CDN Norse Dog Dad says, Canadian Norse Dog Dad Dragon just purchased 2 red dragon hats. Okay, that makes sense. Check it out at shoptyt.com. That's where you can get those dragon hats. That's awesome, man. We appreciate that. Coops4476 says, Trump is the worst magician. There's constant misdirection. Yes. Elliot ZP says, the talk of strikes on Iran without boots on the ground makes me wonder if the final goal is to do strikes, weaken the central government, and then have proxy/separatists turn Iran into a rump state, a powerless central government plus regional conflict everywhere away from the capital. No regime change, but arguably worse, but a dream come true for Israel. Now, Elliot, I think that the dream for Israel is, no, put in a dictator, just like we have in so many other countries, and that dictator works 100% for Israel. By the way, not only placates their local population, then doesn't threaten Israel in any way, shape, or form, doesn't protect the Palestinians, betrays the Palestinians, and on top of that, probably takes a lot of their resources and funnels it over to Israel and America, to be fair, okay? So I think that's their dream, and that's usually what they get. Michael Catalano says, I live in a blue city in Ohio, which is shaping up to be the most high stakes Senate race, and I'm very worried about ICE at polling places. Yeah, but brother, look, there's gonna be there's already a reaction to it, right? We'll get to the numbers on ICE later in the program, but they're terrible, right? So I think if ICE showed up at the polling places, even more people would show up to vote. I mean, if you let ICE intimidate you from voting, oh, that's super weak. No way, guys. If they're at polling places, then I need you to vote 10 times more. Just kidding, okay? Be 10 times more active and excited about voting, okay? There is an actual fraud, guys. They drive me crazy. Anyway,
your mules, your 2,000 mules.
Yeah, talk to the Venezuelans. Oh no, they will. Hey, they don't have an excuse anymore. Maduro was rigging the elections and Maduro's gone. So I guess the elections are going to be fair. Oh, that's funny. CDN Norstag Dog Dad also said, new hashtag please use everywhere. Hashtag bring back Friday Power Panel. Okay, the people want it. When Ketchup Flies writes in on the YouTube member section, I think it's time for a cognitive test screen lock on Trump's phone. That's really funny. What animal is this? Lion, no, it's a bear. You can't post on True Social. All right, we'll be back.
I love cows.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and John with you guys. Also, is it Johan Zanderholm? That's such a great name. They just joined by hitting the join button below on YouTube. We appreciate that a lot. Everybody, tyt.com/join. Best URL in the world, at least for us. And by the way, you get to be part of this community and this family and this. And so I love everybody in this community. So come and join us. CDN Norse Dog Dad gifted a membership. Dawn Whitehead gifted 5, and then. I think it's Johan. Right after joining, he gifted 5 memberships on top. So that's awesome, and we love you guys. All right, John.
Awesome. Okay, I was gonna say have some fun. It's interesting. I don't know if it's fun. I'll let you be the judge. Let's jump into it.
In Venezuela, there was a weapon used, a sonic weapon, that took out many of the Cuban bodyguards that were used to defend Maduro. Lots of people saw the details about that weapon and were concerned. Is that something that Americans should be afraid of, something the United States is combating?
Yeah, it's something I don't want to, nobody else has it. We have weapons that nobody knows about. And I say it's probably good not to talk about it, but we have some amazing weapons. That was an amazing attack.
So that is Donald Trump with an interview with NewsNation's Katie Pavlich, where he confirmed the use of a new kind of weapon that was used in the raid to get Nicolas Maduro. And I would just have you bear in mind that he was asked by Katie Pavlich, should the American people be worried about this? And he did not reassure us that that we'll be fine. He just skipped over that part, Cenk. What's your 2 cents?
Yeah, so we'll come back to that. First one is, we have weapons that no one knows about, well, until now. Okay,
yeah.
But okay, kidding aside, Cent 2, this is a deeply problematic weapon. And even if we're the only ones that have it now, tick, 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 within weeks, months, whatever it is, the others will have them. So wait till you find out what this weapon is. This is kind of a disaster. And I'm super worried it's gonna lead to authoritarianism throughout the world.
Yeah, well, let's jump into what we know about it, not just from Trump's interview, but from Carolyn Leavitt, who 2 weeks ago had shared an alleged eyewitness account from a bodyguard that was loyal to Nicolas Maduro talking about the effect of the weapon. So she tweeted this, stop what you're doing and read this, with a bunch of American flags for some reason. And so this is a security guard talking to an interviewer. And we don't know exactly where this interview comes from. It apparently had been shared by Mike Netter, the conservative vice chair of the Rebuild California campaign. And so I'm gonna read the excerpts from the interview. And as I do this, let's play a little fun game. Imagine you were a propagandist for the Trump regime. Try to find a way that you would change this to make it be more what Trump would want. And I defy you to find a way to do that. So the Venezuelan security guard supposedly said, on the day of the operation, we didn't hear anything coming. We were on guard, but suddenly all of our radar systems shut down without any explanation. The next thing we saw were drones, a lot of drones flying over our positions. We didn't know how to react. The interviewer says, and then the battle began. Security guard, yes, but it was a massacre. We were hundreds, but we had no chance. They were shooting with such precision and speed. It seemed like each soldier was firing 300 rounds per minute. We couldn't do anything. Interviewer says, and your own weapons, didn't they help? Security guard says, no help at all, because it wasn't just the weapons. At one point, they launched something, I don't know how to describe it. It was like a very intense sound wave. Suddenly, I felt my head was exploding from the inside. We all started bleeding from the nose. Some were vomiting blood. We fell to the ground, unable to move. The interviewer said, and your comrades, did they manage to resist? Security guard, no, not at all. Those 20 men, without a single casualty, killed hundreds of us. We had no way to compete with their technology, with their weapons. I swear I've never seen anything like it. We couldn't even stand up after that sonic weapon, or whatever it was. And then the interviewer says, so do you think the rest of the region should think twice before confronting the Americans? Security guard, without a doubt. I'm sending a warning to anyone who thinks they can fight the United States. They have no idea what they're capable of. After what I saw, I never want to be on the other side of that again. They're not to be messed with.
Okay.
Come on, Jay. I'm not even saying that that's not true that that happened. Maybe they did all this stuff and they killed everybody. Certainly we don't know of any casualties, so sure, they wiped out 200 people. This is what he said.
Okay, so first of all, I enjoyed your dramatic reading.
Thank you.
Okay, second of all, I don't know what he means by they were firing 300 rounds per minute. Okay, because that's not the sonic weapon, that's just random, right? So that's weird. And then the last paragraph was, yeah, it was too much, right? Like, oh, America is not to be messed with. Now remember, everyone, preemptively surrender. Okay, all right, I got it. But this guy's not the only one saying it. And so I have heard.
Yeah, I don't doubt that they have the weapon. I'm just saying that was written by either Stephen Miller or ChatGPT or both.
Which goes to an interesting point, John, which is why are they telling everybody about our secret weapon, right? So you've got this way of kind of advertising it. And then in case you didn't see it, Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, goes, look here at our secret weapon, right? Yeah. And then Trump confirms it. Okay, I get it. They want the world to know. And why do they want them to know? It's actually pretty easy to figure that out because they want to intimidate them. And they want to say, hey, don't fight us, you have no chance. On the other hand, I have heard from several different sources about the sonic weapon, okay? So again, until it's confirmed, until you see it, you never know for sure, right? But it sounds like we do have a sonic weapon, and so that the part that is relevant in that is the description of it feels like an implosion inside your own head, the bleeding from the nose, the vomiting of the blood, etc., and you're completely incapacitated. And that doesn't begin to explain how do we go into a compound with about 100 guards and with 20 guys or however many it was, and we don't lose a single guy. That is very improbable, right? Even if they're the greatest fighters in the world, there's too many guys.
Yeah.
So they clearly had some massive advantage that we are not used to, okay? And so my best guess is that the sonic weapon is real. And so now, what happens when China gets it? Okay, now that's an issue. What happens when terrorists get it? What happens when Israel gets it? But what happens when Iran gets it or Hezbollah gets it, right? So if it's real, then people are gonna start using it everywhere. And it's gonna turn into a disaster. And by the way, the most important part of that is not the invasion of each other, right? And yes, for a while we have an advantage, or Chinese or the Israelis have it, and they have an advantage, they'll attack everyone. I don't know about the Chinese, they have actually not been very warlike, but Israel will attack every Muslim country on earth, right? With that weapon, or make us do it, right? But that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is, you're gonna protest your own government wherever you are. They bring out the sonic weapon. Well, there goes the whole protest.
Yeah, they'll say it's non-lethal. And sure, you're vomiting blood, but that's just libs exaggerating.
Yeah, and maybe you'll die a couple of years from now from whatever brain damage we caused, right? Yeah. But meanwhile, everyone's incapacitated. So that's we're about to enter an era, guys, and I don't want to scare you too much. But and I'm the hope guy, so I'm the last guy to say everything is doom and gloom, right? But super worried about it. Like even if it's not this, the robots are coming, right? The Pentagon is showing us the robots that they're working on that are lethal, etc. Then you've got the drones, then you've got Palantir and the surveillance state. The walls are closing in. soon the powerful will have an ability to surveil all of us at all times. And then if you get out of line, they make your head seem like it's imploding and you're vomiting blood.
Yeah.
So how do you beat that kind of machine? So
I don't know.
I'm super worried about it.
Yeah. Maybe a good time to catch up on some classic cyberpunk literature, because this is basically how it works, and also the form of government that ends up producing it. We allowed corporations to buy everything, and the rich own literally everything, and all the politicians. And what do you know? They're acting out cyberpunk all over us.
Yep. All right. When we come back, everybody check out Damage Report, 1 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday. Great show by John. And when we come back, we've got a new guest host for you guys, and kind of a power panel. And we're going to talk about all the ICE abuses. There's new abuses and new lists that they're making. So super important news. We'll be right back.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to big pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
We talk about TYT Army being so strong. Usually they help us run our show. Now they're gonna help us run the country.
Like this. It's time that we reclaim democracy for the people.
We had a huge victory for Wolfpack.
When Lincoln said this was a country by, of, and for, he said of the people, not of corporations.
Our representatives don't represent us. Whoa, democracy!
United!
We are!
We are!
Too strong! There's thousands of volunteers, and you could be among them. When you get the power back, oh, that feels good. This is just the beginning. Knock, knock. We're coming for them! Wolf-pack.com.
Mayweather will knock out Pacquiao. Floyd beats his wife.
Okay, I get it. You're progressive. You're looking for other progressive voices. Why? Because you want real progress to happen. You're tired of the why, regular stuff. You should be checking out the Young Turks. Why? Because who else is going to have Killer Mike talking about politics and social issues in his new TV show, Trigger Warning?
My dad wrote the story of his life. It's called Original Young Turk. It's a book on shoptyt.com. Part of the story is how I became progressive. Now, he doesn't write about that per se, But in his life story, you see, oh my God, when a community helps one another, when the government also chips in and gives you free education, anything is possible. He went from an incredibly poor olive farmer to living the American dream.
Randy Arguay. I love cows.
Drop it. All right, look at this power panel. Okay, Cenk Uygur, Jordan Ewell, TYT host extraordinaire, but also host of the Insurgents podcast. And Keith Edwards, everybody, for the first time. All right, so Keith has an amazing show on YouTube. Make sure you're checking that out. Wonderful left-leaning progressive show. So great to have you here, Keith.
Thanks for having me.
Can't wait to do the news with you guys. Jordan's got the news for us, a lot of ICE news. Before we get started, let me do my usual. Let me just thank one person who joined during the break. If Tinabdira Sheed 3178, that is a name, okay? Anyways, love you for joining us. Hit the join button below and be part of that. By the way, just ring the bell. That doesn't cost you anything. And everybody that's watching, take 2 seconds to do that. Helps the show a lot. All right, Jordan.
Take a look at this.
I would like to quickly address the police officers of January 6th. Mr. Dunn, Mr. Fanone, Mr. Gonell, Mr. Hodges. I'm a member of the new select committee to actually examine what happened that day. And I can tell you, gentlemen, that the fault does not lie with Donald Trump. It lies with Yogananda Pittman and the US Capitol leadership team. We know they had the intelligence. And there was going to be a high propensity for violence that day.
Things got very spicy yesterday during the Jack Smith hearing when former Capitol Police officer Michael Fanone, who you just saw there, responded to Texas Representative Troy Nehls when he tried to blame the violence on January 6th on Capitol Police officers. And we've got more, but Cenk, what are your 2 cents here?
Yeah. So I'll never understand the right wing saying at the same exact time, you better respect ICE officers, otherwise you have it coming when you get 3 shots in the head, it's your fault. How dare you disrespect a cop and get your car within 10 or 20 feet of them, right? Oh, but you want to beat the living crap out of cops on January 6th? Attaboy! Okay, there's no crime there at all, don't be. Guys, do you not see it? You don't see that hypocrisy? It's amazing. Okay, but in this case, Fanone and the others are gonna fight back and you're gonna enjoy that. Jordan's gonna give you the facts.
Well, Troy Nehls wasn't the only conservative to face Michael Fanone's wrath. He also had to be pulled away during a heated argument during a recess with prominent election denier Ivan Raiklin. Raiklin is a far-right activist who published 2020 election conspiracy theories and dubbed himself the Secretary of Retribution for Donald Trump. He approached Fanone while recording on his phone, and here's how that went.
Hey, Michael. Hey, what's up, buddy? Ivan Raiklin. Why do you have to swear at me?
What's that?
Why do you have to swear at me?
Oh, dude, don't pretend like we're not mortal enemies. Yourself.
Well, why do you have to lose your cool like that? I've been always professional with you.
I'm not losing my cool. You've threatened my family and you've threatened my life.
Have
You're
I?
a traitor to this country.
Why are you so spasmodic?
Am I spasmodic?
Look at your face. You can't even control yourself. You can't even be a man.
Trust me, I'm using a lot of
You see how many people are constraining you?
Come get me.
Look at me. Total control over my mind and body. Total control over my mind and body, and I'm totally dominating you right now.
Sir.
Totally dominating you right now.
Sir, let's step aside.
After the hearing, Fanone wrote about that incident on his Substack. What you're watching there is restraint. Because when someone who made violent threats against your family walks up to you inside the Capitol smiling, filming, and trying to humiliate you, restraint is the only thing preventing that moment from turning into something much worse. Reichlin now says he's filing a defamation lawsuit against Michael Fanone because Fanone accused him of threatening his family. In response, Fanone said, "I'm not intimidated. I will never apologize for calling traitors exactly what they are. And I will not be silenced by people who think the Capitol is just another stage for their extremist cosplay." As for the hearing itself, which focused on Jack Smith's investigation into Trump's effort to overturn the 2020 election, Fanone dubbed that a kangaroo court. He called Congress dysfunctional no matter what political party is in control and called the Trump administration a disgrace. Fanone said the hearing was a waste of time and 4 hours that, other than supporting Jack Smith, I wish I could blanking get back. Cenk, what do you make of this altercation and what do you make of this hearing overall?
Yeah, so it's a joke of a hearing. So I get it. When the Republicans win, they're gonna want to get retribution for Donald Trump losing an election and crying about it and starting a riot and all that stuff. Oh, boo-hoo, oh, all he did was a coup attempt and you guys caught feelings over it, right? But this whole prosecuting your political enemies, as he's threatening to do Jack Smith and Letitia James and James Comey and all these guys, not just threatening, trying it, right? Is deeply un-American. I was led to believe that attacking cops is not what a proud American does, okay? And I was led to believe that invading our own capital is not what proud Americans do. So, but I know everybody's got partisan brain. So if my side is doing the violence and my side is doing all that, everything's gonna be fine. I like that there's guys like Fanone and Dunn around who verbally push back. Don't make it physical. It's a disaster if you make it physical, right? And look, the problem with January 6th was they made it physical, right? And they started beating up the cops, et cetera. And I don't want that on any side at all, because then we're at each other's throats and it doesn't help at all. But guys, look at that video, and you can look at any January 6th video. Do you think that if that was a left-wing crowd, a black crowd, a Muslim crowd, et cetera, breaking into the Capitol in the same exact way, can you really say, and you know what, put the racial stuff aside, just left-wing, right? I mean, because you guys some of the right wing is now saying that the Renee Good had it coming, that she should have been executed in the head, shot in the head and killed, because, I mean, she's a lesbian and she was protesting the government, how dare she, right? So what would you have asked the cops to do, Fanone and Dunn and all the rest of them to do on January 6th if they were left-wing protesters, and God forbid if they were lesbians, right? You'd say shoot them all in the head. And now that you're gonna have the opposite position, I don't know. I guess some people are comfortable with hypocrisy, but I'm not. Keith, what do you think?
I think it's stunning to see the Congress is just being used to attack Capitol Police, and they're blaming them for January 6th. They're blaming Capitol Police for January 6th. And there's this saying that that history will remember this accurately, and history is gonna look back on this in a certain way. But I think this is a huge sign that history actually history is written by the people who win. So they are trying to actively rewrite history in this moment. And that video we saw earlier is stunning. It's still stunning to me to see what happened on the Capitol that day. And though we have those images, the people who get into power are the ones who are able to eventually tell us or give their versions of what happened. So I am personally I hope we win more elections, because we are fighting with what actually is going to be the truth in the future if we don't.
Well, I noticed his shirt, and let's talk about that for a second. Fanone was wearing a shirt for the Boston Celtic punk band Dropkick Murphys. The back reads, "Fighting Nazis since 1996." Now, the band shared the video of Fanone confronting Reichlin with this: "Go blank yourself." Jack Smith hearing rocked by angry altercation. And the caption read, "Much love to Michael Fanone for standing up for the people. He's been with us since the beginning. He was at our first DC show in 1996. And You guys are talking about the role the Capitol Police played in January 6th, how they're being blamed by Republicans. And here's just some facts, undisputable facts here. At least 140 officers were injured in the riots and 4 others later died by suicide. Fanone suffered a heart attack after the attack. More than 600 people were charged with assaulting, resisting, or impeding law enforcement in connection with the attack, including nearly 200 defendants charged with using a deadly or dangerous weapon or causing serious bodily injury to an officer. Trump issued sweeping pardons for all of them on his first day in office. And Cenk, to your point, you look at those facts. We saw the footage, it's undeniable. And then you juxtapose all of that with their justification and smearing of Renee Nicole Good, and it is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, last 2 quick points here. Silver linings. First, now the cops are split all across the country. Before, they used to almost always, in my experience in covering the news, be more right-wing Republican, right? But now you got cops in Minnesota against the mass thugs of ICE, and they nearly drew weapons on one another, right? And now you've got cops on January 6th going, wait a minute, the right wing attacked us. And so they're on our side. And on our side, I don't mean like Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi. I just mean like law and order, like decent Americans not attacking the Capitol, like just basic American things like that. And then finally, Fanone is, I don't know what his politics are, but I'm gonna call him a populist because he acts like a populist, right? And it's refreshing to have people who are fighting back against Trump and his abuses who aren't usual Democrats. Like, you got the Adam Schiffs and he's buttoned up and well, I do declare, and blah, blah, blah. Now, it's nice to have a brawler going, yeah, fighting Nazis since 1996. What's up, right? So I just love that attitude, and I like that he's a good guy in this case on our side, for sure. Keith, any last thoughts?
I mean, I totally agree. I was thinking that when we were watching that clip is that it is nice to see someone who does not look like the typical liberal fighting for liberal positions. And it's going to take all of us, all types of people to fight what I believe is a fascist movement happening in the country at this moment.
All right, let's take a quick break, guys. Unfortunately, we're not done with ICE. Well, there was cops and we were talking about ICE in relation to that. But now the real stories about ICE where no warrants apparently, and now half the country is going to be domestic terrorists. Some really frightening facts coming out of the latest ICE surge. We'll be back to talk about that.
I'm a very artistic person.
All right, back during the social break here. Let's go to YouTube members. Tom from Oz says, already subscribed to Keith. That's awesome, okay? And by the way, guys, that only takes 2 seconds too. Keith Edwards on YouTube. Go find the channel, subscribe to it. Boom, easy peasy, okay? It's called search, I tell the boomers. Okay, Bruce Baker 18 says, if the sonic weapon did not affect our soldiers, they have a way to stop it from harming others too. Yeah, I hear you, Bruce, but I'm not sure because maybe they fired it from a distance. I have no idea how it works. Kane's World says the sonic weapon is just Trump's rally speeches projected subliminally at 10 times speed. Good. Okay, that's an interesting theory. Christina Elisa Brown says, did I miss like a TYT staff meeting? Because every host has been sharp AF in analysis, like the fine wine. Was there like a bonus or something? Don't be ridiculous. No. Okay. But thank you. Thank you for saying that we're sharp AF. Eddie Jameson says, Cenk, I noticed you've been using the word cuck lately. Does that have anything to do with the Kyle Kalinske calling Michael Knowles a cuck on Piers Morgan? No, but I thought Kyle did a great job. So credit to Kyle, although that was a hilarious outfit that he had on. Okay, but no, we've been saying that things are a catastrophe for about a decade. So no, and the reason I like it, guys, is that I'm gonna use it more, so brace for impact. Because I don't like partisanship, right? As you, I think, all know. So if you're a cuck for Trump or you're a cuck for Biden or you're a cuck for Israel or whatever it is, I'm gonna point it out because I want everyone thinking independently. Do not lend your brain out to anyone else, okay? Make decisions based on policy, not politicians. Okay, let's go to Peachy Sherry on Twitch. I know, Cenk, we have all the money in the world for other countries and for ICE thugs, but no money to fix our own country and real problems here at home. Exactly, and so they never get around to us, right? They're constantly creating wars and other stuff and giving away subsidies to corporations. We're dead last on their priority list and they never bother to get there. Drenched Wildfire says, that's not true. One American wants war with Iran. They have Lindsey Graham. So it's 350 million to 1. Okay, that's fair, but you might get a couple of others in there too, including Fetterman, unfortunately. Needle Riot says, I love Keith, glad to see you here. So good already, we got love. That's fantastic. Nerd Ferguson says, hi new guy, it's a safe space here. You're among friends, welcome. All right, back on TYT, Cenk, Jordan, and Keith with you guys. And I love this quote, this comment from one of our members on TYT.com, so I'm gonna read it. Ember of Hope said, wowza, had no idea Jordan was so tatted, and this newbie is a cutie.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, love it. All right, Jordan, what's next?
Let's take a look at this.
You believe that you can forcibly enter with an administrative warrant, or would that be a violation of the Fourth Amendment?
Well, our understanding is that you can enforce the immigration laws of the country under an administrative order if you have an administrative warrant. That's what we think. That's our understanding of the law. That's our best faith attempt to understand the law.
Earlier this week, ICE agents broke into the home of a Minnesota family, US citizen, dragged him out into the freezing cold when he was wearing next to nothing. All he had on were shorts and Crocs. According to the man's family, no warrant was presented, nor did they request identification until he was detained. And according to JD Vance and ICE, that's perfectly fine. We'll get into why they might say that and what the consequences here are. But Cenk, at first, what are your 2 cents?
Yeah, here in America, we get warrants. And if you don't get a warrant, it is illegal and unconstitutional. And if you notice, JD Vance sounded like he was hedging in that. Because later, when he runs for president and everybody's irate over the warrants, because we've got the polling to show you how unpopular this is, he's gonna say, well, I said I wasn't sure about the administrative warrants. So don't buy into that, totally unconstitutional.
Well, a memo that was newly resurfaced and leaked by whistleblowers shows why they think they can do that. A US Immigration and Customs Enforcement memo issued in May authorizes agents to enter the homes of those suspected of being in the US illegally with an administrative warrant, not a warrant signed by a judge, in order to make immigration arrests, according to a whistleblower group, which says it has shared the secretive memo with Congress. The memo specifies ICE agents are allowed to forcibly enter a person's home using an administrative warrant if a judge has issued a final order of removal. But typically, ICE agents are required to have a judicial warrant signed by a judge to enter the residences of those they suspect of being in the US illegally. However, the latest ICE guidance says they can instead rely on administrative warrants, which are usually authored by DHS officials or ICE agents themselves. Typically, ICE arrests have been limited to public places because the administrative warrants, known as Form I-205, have not been considered a warrant issued by a neutral and detached magistrate, the whistleblower group said in its complaint to Congress. According to ICE Acting Director Ted Lyons, who issued the memo, although the US Department of Homeland Security has not historically relied on administrative warrants alone to arrest aliens subject to final orders of removal in their place of residence, the DHS Office of General Counsel has recently determined that the US Constitution, the Immigration and Nationality Act, and the immigration regulations do not prohibit relying on administrative warrants for this purpose. Now, this violates the Fourth Amendment and DHS's own policy manual, according to the whistleblowers. The memo says under general guidelines that officers and agents using Form I-205 must knock and announce, and that in announcing, officers and agents must state their identity and purpose. They also must give those inside time to comply with the order, not enter the residence before 6 a.m. or after 10 p.m., and should only use a necessary and reasonable amount of force to enter the home. Despite being labeled as an all-hands memo, the whistleblower group believes it was only shown to select DHS officials. According to DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin, the officers issuing these administrative warrants also have found probable cause. For decades, the Supreme Court and Congress have recognized the propriety of administrative warrants in cases of immigration enforcement. However, in their complaint, the whistleblower cited past ICE and DHS training material that said entering a residence with solely an administrative warrant could lead to violations of the Fourth Amendment constitutional protections. And it's not just the whistleblower saying that, even Newsmax is telling the administration to pump the brakes with this issue. Take a look.
This is a direct and profound violation of the Fourth Amendment, which expressly says people are entitled to be secure in their homes. And that security can only be invaded by a search warrant signed by a judge based on probable cause of crime. I don't know if this has happened yet, and we haven't seen the alleged ICE memorandum. The Wall Street Journal reporter saw it, but they took it back from her. They didn't even let her make notes from it. So it apparently does exist. Whatever it is, it's a profound thumbing your nose at the Constitution, and I expect it would be prevented from being enforced by the first federal judge to look at it. But the thought that ICE wants to break down doors without a search warrant is profoundly un-American and has been un-American since the Bill of Rights was ratified in 1791.
Now, we've got more on the man who was dragged out of his home. But first, Keith, I want to bring you in here. You and I were talking before the show about this story. And I think what we're seeing is, like we talked about, for this administration, they don't do anything by the book. And they don't have any rigid guidelines. It's just what they say, that's the law now. So what do you make of how they're trying to justify this? And now you're seeing even places like Newsmax going, whoa, I don't like this.
Well, the Newsmax thing to me is a canary in the coal mine that this is not okay. I find the videos to be shocking. They're shocking. It's very rare, I think, to have images that stun, and those are stunning images to see in America. And I made this analogy yesterday. I'm not sure if it's okay, but I kind of feel like the difference between what happened in Nazi Germany and what's happening today is that Nazi Germany, it wasn't on video. But it seems like the same exact techniques that we saw then being imposed now. And the Trump administration's attacks on our rights and the Constitution is relentless. And I'm wondering, where are the fighters? Like, I know we have protesters out there. Where are our elected officials? Where is Amy Klobuchar?
Running for office.
Where are they? She's running for office, but should she not be out in the street? I find myself stunned and at the same time more angry than I could possibly imagine. And I'm pretty sure that this is going to have huge electoral consequences, not against Republicans, but against those who are facing primaries. And I think, by the way, we should primary anyone and everyone who either votes for this or doesn't at least speak up against it.
Yeah, so 2 points about what Keith said and then a couple points about what's happening here. So number one, 7 Democrats voted to fund ICE. Yes. They should all be primaried. Yes. They should all be eliminated politically. Number two, so do it the right way. That's how we do it here. I believe in consequences, political consequences. So number two about fascism, Sandra Day O'Connor had the best quote, and she said it back when the Bush team started and Cheney started doing torture and warrantless wiretapping. She said, they were like, oh, fascism. I mean, like, it's not like they're putting people in gas chambers. And she said, we should avoid these beginnings so that we avoid those ends, right? And so when I see them knocking down doors and not getting warrants and doing things in a deeply un-American way, I'm worried about, and now at this point, we're not at the beginnings, we're kind of in the middle, right? So the Bush team and Cheney started all this, and here we are in the middle. So, now, but it is greatly encouraging to see Napolitano, who has been principled throughout, and I've been shocked by it, and I've been very happy about it. Used to be on Fox News, not on Fox News anymore, partly because he has been principled. And so protecting the Constitution there and saying things that are true. Glenn Greenwald, same thing, and a lot of independent podcasters, Rogan, Dylan, and others, now Andrew Schultz, all of them saying, what is this? We didn't ask for this. We asked for the criminals to be taken out, we asked for the border to be closed, but we didn't ask for mass thugged armed men breaking into Americans' homes without a warrant. That's crazy, right? Because it is crazy. So to that point, they said they're doing this to protect America. Oh, we have an invasion coming in from immigrants, we gotta protect America. So is this like one of those lines from like Vietnam? We had to destroy the village to save the village. So we had to destroy American ideas and principles in our Constitution in order to save America? That is deeply wrong and counterintuitive and not true, right? So what I love about America is our ideas and principles in our Constitution, and I heard that a lot from the right wing before. Now I'm encouraged to see people like Napolitano, and even Tucker Carlson had a note of caution about it, right? So that's nice to see some principles on that side. But currently, the right wing administration of Donald Trump, if you call it any kind of wing, cuckoo wing is probably more accurate. But anyways, they're violating the Constitution. They never meant it. And so when you see "Don't tread on me," this is treading on you, brother. This is exactly treading on you. Finally, to the point about the protesters and Klobuchar and them, they should be out there. Well, maybe we're a little bit better off without Klobuchar out there, but protesters, look, I love what you're doing. So number one, don't get close to ICE because of 2 reasons. One, I'm worried about you. They shoot people in the head, right? But number two is that don't give them an excuse to use violence. And because once you have any kind of violence, that's how they shut down a movement. And that's how they get even more aggressive and take away more of your rights. On the other hand, I love that you're out there making noise, recording things, being in the general area. So the right wing often talks about like, we want to protect America with the Second Amendment. If there's government tyranny, we're gonna grab our guns. I've never been in favor of that, right? What are you gonna do, shoot at cops, shoot at the military, shoot at ICE? That's a terrible idea, right? But I love that the left wing and independents and now even some on the right are protecting America with the First Amendment. So get out there and get your voice heard, but don't go close to them, okay? And if you don't go close to them, they'll get super frustrated that they can't legally stop you. So I love every American out there fighting for this country.
Yeah. Well, let's turn our attention now back to 56-year-old Chong Lee Thao, who also goes by Scott. Thao, who was originally born in Laos and came to the US in 1974, at the age of 4, he's been a naturalized citizen since 1991. On Sunday, ICE agents swarmed his home, broke down his door with guns drawn, and dragged him outside where the temperature was 14 degrees. They provided no explanation for what they were doing, nor did they accept his ID when it was offered to them by him and his daughter-in-law. According to Homeland Security, the officers were investigating 2 convicted sex offenders from Laos who they said lived at that address. Thao refused to be fingerprinted or facially identified, so he was detained. He matched the description of the targets. As with any law enforcement agency, it is standard protocol to hold all individuals in a house of operation for safety of the public and law enforcement. It was also reported earlier today that at least one of the suspects has been in prison for over a year. There is a large Hmong population in the Twin Cities after many fled Laos after supporting the US during the Vietnam War. In a statement Monday, Thao's family said the agency's account did not reflect their firsthand knowledge of the events or the living situation at the residence. The only individuals residing at the home are Mr. Thao, his adult son, his daughter-in-law, and his young grandson. The family does not know the individuals referenced in DHS's statement. Mr. Thao did not resist and went with agents voluntarily, despite the absence of an explanation for his detention at the time. So Cenk, it sounds like they broke down this door, saw someone who looked generally Laotian, and thought, yeah, that's our guy.
Yeah, so this one's really easy. If you think he's a convicted sex offender, great, get a warrant. Because you'll be able to get a warrant, no problem at all. If you go to any judge in the country, say, hey, there's a sex offender out in the streets and I gotta go get him. They'll give you the warrant right away if you show any degree of evidence. By the way, if you went and did that process, what you would have found out is you got the wrong guy. And that's why we do warrants. Keith.
I just can't believe that they didn't just say sorry to this man. They couldn't even say sorry. That's to me the thing that, like, you can't even say sorry for pulling you out of your house, basically naked. That to me shows the morality of these folks.
And by the way, in case you don't know, a naturalized citizen is 100% citizen. There's no difference at all. There's no difference between a naturalized citizen and a natural born citizen. They have the same exact rights. So I don't know, sometimes people don't realize that, so I've got to reiterate that. So that brother had every right in the world and they definitely should have gotten a warrant and done it the American way, in which case they would have found the right guy and actually gotten the bad guy instead of getting an innocent American. All right, we're gonna take a break?
I think so, yeah.
Yep, all right, we're gonna take the break. When we come back, more ICE abuses. This one might be even more disastrous than not getting warrants. Really? Yes, we'll be back. During the social break here, let's go to our members on TYT.com. Amber of Hope says, another story from here in the Twin Cities. My friend's mom was detained for being a witness to an ICE raid. They brought her in even after she provided assistance to an agent that had a seizure on the way to the detention center. I mean, look, that shows you the lack of humanity, right? Oh, thank you for saving my life. You're under arrest, right? Like what? You shouldn't even do anything wrong. So you guys heard the story, I'm sure, of the three agents that go to eat at a Mexican restaurant. They come back later in the day and arrest the cooks. I mean, just like terrible guys. Like, all right. Grok and Dragon says, subscribe to Keith's channel as well now. No donations to the Dem Party. Join the ICC and invite them here. Boycott the FIFA World Cup, at least in the US, and boycott the Olympics. I don't know, something. This is beyond doing things by the book. Okay, I don't know why we're boycotting the Olympics, but I know you have good intent. I love that you subscribe to Keith's channel. And I'm sorry, there is a legitimate reason to boycott the FIFA World Cup with that nonsense Peace Prize. I just can't do it.
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna have to watch those games. I'm sorry, but you're not wrong, okay? But I love that you're fighting back in your own way, okay? Eclectic writes in, if your best faith attempt at following the law is bashing a door in without a warrant and dragging an unarmed, undressed person outside in the sub-freezing temperatures, you're not trying very hard. That is very true. Wolf Dragon Donna said, welcome to TYT, Keith. I've been subscribed to your show for a while now and love your commentary.
Thank you.
All right, that's awfully nice of you, Donna. That's awesome. I love the guys who just subscribe to Keith's channel, and I love the folks that were already on there. Boomer Dragon Cat asks, if we take Cuba, does this mean my Cuban husband doesn't need to worry about being stopped by ICE? And Cat, as you know, that's not how it works. right? So because they're not asking, they're not like, oh, are you Cuban American? It's okay. They're going, oh, brown guy, grab him. So I wish that weren't the case, but that certainly seems to be the case from all the videos we're seeing. The only silver lining there is bye-bye to the Latino vote. And so you heard that on this show a while back, and now the polls indicate it. Jedi 6 says Iran's about weapons of mass destruction and Cuba is about cigars. Put Cosmo Kramer as Cuban president. Another unique idea, okay? Kaj says, Cenk, I want to echo other members to say TYT is the highlight of my day, and I hope this show never ends. Besides, you're on the record saying you would be doing this all life long. Looking forward to it. Okay, first of all, thank you, you're amazing. Second of all, they have a date for when I said all life long, April 11th, 2013. Did you write that down? That's amazing. By the way, I'll stick with it. Don't get me wrong, but I love that you wrote that down. Okay, so that's great. Sparky says Cuba is their strategy to try to sway brown voters back after this ICE crap. If that's their strategy, it's like the world's worst strategy. That's not gonna work at all. You know, I know we're arresting unfairly all the brown people, but we also just bombed them. No. All right, back on TYT, Cenk, Jordan, and Keith. Tons of comments about Keith. M3324, he's cute. Hey, Keith. Miss Penny Weiser, I like this conversation with Keith for sure. I think he would do well to come on TYT more often. I'm a little behind, but I love Keith Edwards. Great to see him with Cenk and Jordan. Amy Megason, welcome, Keith. I'm a regular viewer of your show. This is great form for your voice. Glad you're here. All right, we're all glad that Keith is here. Love it. Check out Keith Edwards on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. Jordan, what's next?
Take a look at this.
This is why all ICE people need their names on their badges. Because now you're getting people mixed up in the crosshairs.
Talk to me.
Because if they're like, I don't know, apparently like they're not named. Like apparently they don't have like.
Well, yeah, they got the shiesties on.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Right. It is insane.
Yeah. People are looking at them like murderous military people that are on the streets of our city, and they're masked up, which is also a problem, right? They're wearing a mask. They don't have to tell you. That's a problem. That's a problem on our city streets.
This is your cousin who like was in backyard wrestling. Like, this is tough. This is not the cream of the crop. You know the guys that kidnapped Maduro, like Delta Force, Navy SEALs? This is not them.
In recent days, Andrew Schultz, Joe Rogan, Tim Dillon, and many others have all slammed ICE and the agency's tactics. But how do the American people feel about ICE? We'll get into the numbers, but first, Cenk, what do you think about this shift that we're seeing in this independent right-wing media space?
Called it. So look, I'm deeply encouraged to see that folks who I thought might be principled on some of these issues have been. And so, yeah, we were all collectively not sure if they were just gonna be cucks for Trump. See there, I did it again. But they weren't, they haven't been. So doesn't mean we agree with everything they're saying, but that is super good. But by the way, they're not alone. Part of the reason that they're in that category is because the overwhelming majority of Americans agree with them. ICE has gone too far. We have those numbers for you in a second. But my second point is I'm super worried about this new idea that they have that they're gonna put us on domestic terrorist lists. And I hope that those same guys are going to be even more animated about that terrible idea. So let's give you all the facts.
Yeah. So let's start with a poll that the New York Times and Siena conducted from January 12th through the 17th. In total, 61% of respondents said that ICE's tactics have gone too far. 26% said they are about right. 11% said they are not enough. But how do those numbers break down by party affiliation? 94% of Democrats stated that ICE's tactics have gone too far. 71% of independents agreed. But only 19% of Republicans said that ICE's tactics are excessive. So ICE has a low approval rating overall. Just 36% of voters said they approved of the way ICE was handling its job, according to the poll, while 63% disapproved, including 70% of independent voters. Now here's where the numbers start to get a little more complicated. According to this poll, voters are not supportive of Trump's immigration policy, but when asked about Trump's border and deportation policies specifically, voters responded more positively. This is what we mean. When voters were asked about how Trump has handled immigration, 58% said that they disapproved and 40% said that they approved. 50% of voters said that they approved of the Trump administration's deportations of people living in the country illegally, while 47% opposed them. The president's handling of the southern border was viewed favorably by 50% of voters. So there is some nuance in these numbers, Cenk, but generally, the brutality that we are seeing in our streets is not palatable to a majority of Americans. And for me, I'm taking some hope from that, and that is a starting point for conversations about those other aspects of his immigration and deportation policy. What do you think?
Actually, I'm way more encouraged than you are. I mean, I don't think that it's like, I love nuance, but I don't think this one has as much nuance as some of the other stories, because look at the numbers. I just want to emphasize some of the things here. So Trump on immigration, after he closed down the border, that's the perception, and that's most Americans are in favor of that. And in the beginning, they were going after criminals more that were undocumented, and that had positive ratings, etc. So he took that goodwill, and remember, that was the second biggest issue in the election. The American people did vote for him based on that. He took all that goodwill and he flushed it right down the toilet. In 1 year with these mass thugs, he's now on the issue of immigration, he's underwater 40 to 58. That's 18 points underwater. On immigration, that was his top issue. So because on inflation, yeah, that was the #1 issue overall, but you weren't sure if Trump really could do something about it. But on immigration, they were like, yeah, Trump's definitely gonna do something. Now he's 18 points underwater. No, that's like, again, look guys, I'm the guy who called out Biden when he was in the mid-30s, and I said, look, there's real political realities. You cannot be in the mid-30s, especially as an incumbent, and win the election. It's not possible, it's never been done, right? So being 18 points underwater in immigration for a Republican president, especially Trump, is disastrous. So when you get into more of those numbers, 61% saying that ICE is going too far, that's a giant number, but look at the number that's saying not enough, 11%. That's actually microscopic politically. That means you're on the extreme edge. In fact, let's dive into those numbers a little bit more. Look, when 71% of independents say that ICE is going too far, those independents are the reason Trump won, and now they're gone. So how is he gonna get him back? I mean, they're not interested in all these wars he's starting. They're not interested in what the thuggish behavior of ICE. They're not interested in not releasing the Epstein files, backing Israel 100%, all these things. And he's getting more and more unpopular, and almost all the independents have turned against him. That's why people are starting to worry about, wait, is he gonna try to do something to stop the election or rig the election in 26? Because at this pace, they're gonna get significantly hurt politically. The Republicans are, right? And then last one from this, even among Republicans, so sure, we got bad numbers there in terms of 19% saying going too far, but usually they don't really break with Trump that much. So already 2 out of 10 Republicans are against it, 56% saying right, but only 24% saying not enough. So if you were wondering how big is the extreme right wing, the guys who are like, oh, they shot Renee Good in the head 3 times, but at least she was a lesbian, right? Like that contingent, right? Apparently, it's only a quarter of the Republican Party. So that makes it right around that 11% that you're seeing in the overall numbers. So those are great numbers if you want to take power away from Trump. So as terrible as ICE is, it's doing more damage politically to Trump than anyone else. Keith, what do you think?
Well, first off, with Joe Rogan, Theo Von, who's the mustache man, Andrew Schultz, I just want an apology. I don't need more than that, but I would like one apology. I'm sorry, I didn't know this was gonna happen. I'm sorry I helped this happen. But those numbers are stunning. And to me it says that they are not planning on having to have the support of the electorate for elections. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means that they're not planning on having free and fair elections. I don't know if it means that Donald Trump just is like, see you later, I don't care what happens because I'm out, or if Donald Trump thinks that he's gonna be able to figure out a way to be in power. Because these are not people who are governing like they care what the electorate thinks. That is my worry about all of this.
Yeah, just real quick on that, I don't need a sorry. All I need is a yes. So it's okay to have,
sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But like, as long as they're coming to our side in some ways, and it's affecting politics in the right direction, I'm thrilled about it. And of all people, Tucker Carlson from time to time, and he did it when he interviewed Anna, my co-host Anna Kasparian. He said, "Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't have been in favor of those wars." So like, weird, amazing things are happening in media, and I think it's affecting these numbers as well. Jordan,
On the podcaster front, it's just like I'm with Keith. It's like, yeah, you didn't want it, but how did you not know this was going to happen? That's my thing. It's like they weren't hiding it; they were telling us they were going to do this, and I think they only focused on the criminals and the worst of the worst stuff, and ignored all of the other violent, bloodthirsty rhetoric that we all saw and paid attention to and were very worried about. I don't know. It's just like, you gotta take a little responsibility, because we had this autopsy after the election. They played an outsized role in shaping people's perceptions of the candidates. And all of those guys were very supportive of Trump. They had caveats, of course. And Dave Smith had said, like, look, if he doesn't do these things, I'm out. Trump didn't do those things, he's out. Like, he had his line that Trump, if he crossed it, he was gone. So yeah, like there were some people like that, but I think the comedians who weighed into politics weren't paying close attention, and I would argue misinformed their audience. And this is the consequence, in part. It's not just them, of course, but when you have a platform that big, I've always maintained you need to have more responsibility for what you say, who you have on, and what your viewers are told, or what they ultimately believe if it comes from you.
Okay, we got to go to the domestic terrorist thing. But I just, last thing to respond to that super quick is, like, I hear you guys, and politically I agree with you, but they haven't been in politics that long. Like, is Theo Von a political strategist that's been around for decades? Not really. He's just trying to figure out the world. And it's also on us to not pick corporate robots. Because when you're doing a populist show and the Democrats go, here is a great corporate robot that we have brought, like, you can't, they're like, oh, I can't go in that direction, so I guess I'll go for the madman. But this is what the madman wrought, and that's why we were warning you about the madman. But I'll take yes for an answer any day, all day. All right, tell us about the most important
So much more I want to say, but yes. There's another video from Nathan Bernard that was taken by a legal observer. Let's start with this.
It's not illegal to record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
we're videotaping you? Are you crazy?
Now, that incident is backed up by a disturbing new report written by enemy of the show, Ken Klippenstein. DHS has ordered immigration officers to gather identifying information about anyone filming them and to send that information to Intel, who will do a workup on them. Federal law enforcement official directly involved tells me, meaning trying to identify them via social media, running their license plates if available, and running a criminal history check. Klippenstein published a related scoop on Wednesday. He was leaked a copy of the Trump administration's 2026 Homeland Threat Assessment. It posits that America's greatest threat in 2026 is not foreign adversaries, but rather domestic terrorism. But what defines a domestic terrorist? The document reads, of threat actors with ideological motivations, domestic violent extremists in recent years have been the most active plotters. They are motivated to conduct attacks by a wide range of factors, including anti-government sentiment, racial and ethnic grievances, anti-Israel and anti-Semitic beliefs, and class-based or economic grievances. And there's more, but for the sake of time, Cenk, I want to bring you in here.
Okay, this is an absolute disaster. So it's on two fronts. One is, now we're calling American citizens domestic terrorists. Okay, once you start calling each other terrorists, good night, Irene. Okay, whoever comes into office, arrest the other side because they're terrorists. It's like the worst word in the English language. It's almost always abused for political purposes. It doesn't really have any meaning. Hamas is considered terrorists because they have a 67% kill ratio, and that is true, they are terrorists, and that does prove it. Israel has an 83% civilian kill ratio. They are bigger terrorists, but they are never called terrorists in American media because the word terrorist is just propaganda. And now I hated it when they used it against Palestinians overall, and then they're killing all those civilians in Gaza. But now they've started to use it on us here at home in America. So, and if you notice, the second part of it is gratuitously, for no reason, Israel's on the list. Which it's like, okay, if you say things, if you endanger the lives of ICE officers and say something mean about them or their mom, plus if you say anything against Portugal, we'd be like, why is Portugal in there, right? But Israel's in there, nobody goes, why is Israel in there? Because this isn't even about us, brother. The surveillance state's gonna start, and when it does, the first thing they're gonna crack down is any protest of Israel. You are to give all of your money to them, and if you object, domestic terrorists, treat them like a Palestinian. That's what's coming next. And against American citizens, hell no. Keith.
Well, I think we know what they want to do to people who they call terrorists. They've done it to the narco terrorists. They killed them in the ocean, and they are going to label anyone here in America as a terrorist, as someone that does not have to have laws and due process. So to me, the terrorist label is obviously them trying to say that if you do something that the government doesn't like, then you actually don't have rights and they can do whatever they want to. It's not good.
Yeah, narco terrorists / fishermen.
Yes.
Right, and so it's one thing when it's Venezuelan fishermen and I hate it. It's another thing when it becomes our fishermen and our carpenters and bakers and construction guys, etc. So no. We're not calling any Americans terrorists on the left or the right, and we're not taking away their rights, and we're not for any of this un-American crap. And if they really start putting people on a list, I'm hoping that all those guys you saw earlier, the Rogans and all those guys, all collectively say on behalf of America, hell no. Okay, we got an amazing revolution show for you guys coming up next. Former Congresswoman Marie Newman is going to join me, and we're going to co-interview 4 Democratic candidates in Illinois. I can't wait for you guys to see that. So stay right here, and remember, Jordan Yule, thank you so much for joining us. Insurgent Podcast. Keith Edwards on YouTube. Make sure you're checking that out. Thank you for joining us, brother.
Thanks for having me.
All right, your inaugural episode.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So we'll be right back with the revolution. There's one reason why healthcare is so messed up in this country, and that's because of our money in politics situation. Because those industries that are deeply corrupt can just simply purchase all of Congress. And then the problem never gets fixed because of that bribery. Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it's greed, and it's the greed of politicians, right? I mean, so everything they do is dictated by the donors and the money. I mean, I shouldn't say that, not everything. A lot of what they do is, and I do think that there are people who do things in spite of the fact that they have to raise money and often don't get that money and often don't win because they don't, but are in there fighting for ideals that they believe in. Bernie Sanders is certainly an example of someone like that.
I'm back to gaslighting. Did you and I talk about gaslighting on Old School?
Probably.
That boss gaslit all his female employees. People who manipulate others like that make you feel like you're the weirdo. Why won't you punch yourself in the face? What is wrong with you? And you're like, oh my God, I feel so bad. Why didn't I just punch myself in the face and poke my eye out? I'm 47 and I just figured it out like earlier this year.
You figured out somebody was doing it to you, or that you were
that it was that it would have been happening my whole life and I didn't realize it.
Right.
You want to know the 3 shows that I'm watching lately? Shogun, Anjin-san. Those guys are badasses. Then you go to the Duttons, Yellowstone. Now, they don't always do it right, but they are badasses. But the 3rd show has the biggest badasses of all, the Young Turks. Live every weekend. Sick that I was so good. God damn it. Okay, live. Weekdays at 6 o'clock Eastern. That's what I meant. Anjin-san.
How do you know if you're a populist? Easy. Do you work for the donor class? You don't? Great, you're a populist. Okay, so the establishment takes money from the donors and serves the donors. Mainstream media takes money from advertisers, and they are giant corporations themselves, and they work for themselves, and they work for the powerful. If you care about the average person, and you want the average person to have better health care, better wages, a better life, and you hate corruption, congrats, you're a populist.
All right, Amazon Prime members, here's how you can subscribe for free on Twitch. Start by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then click that little subscribe or resubscribe button below the stream on Twitch. Scroll down and select the subscribe free with Prime button, and then you're finished. Close out immediately and share your little subscription alert with the chat. Send a cute message along with it and bathe in the sweet, twitchy, Bezos-funded love. Hashtag Bezos Bucks.
All right, welcome back to TYT. We're gonna do something different here that we've never done before at TYT. We're going to do a forum of different candidates from the same state, but different districts, all running in this election cycle. And we're gonna bring them together, 4 different folks from Illinois. And I'm going to co-host it with Marie Newman, former US Congresswoman from Illinois. So we want to get you to know these candidates. We want to ask them some questions and find out more about them. I'm super excited about it. By the way, why Illinois? Because there's so many open seats in Illinois. And given how close Congress is, Illinois can decide whether Republicans or Democrats are going to control the entire United States Congress. And I love that we're doing this candidate showcase, and I love that Marie Newman put it together. So Marie, welcome back.
Thank you, so good to be here and so excited to hear from these candidates.
Love it. Okay, so now let's bring in the candidates, and Marie and I will alternate in asking them questions, okay? And actually, before we do, Marie, I already said why Illinois is so important, and obviously you're biased because you're from Illinois, but what's your sense of how weighty these races are in this particular point in time?
It's really important. So obviously, Illinois is a big state. It is one of the top 10 size states, and we are a blue state, and we are sometimes a very strong bellwether of what is going to happen in the upcoming election, right? So these four candidates represent what I often call as the new guard, right? Is that they are anti-establishment in the sense that the old establishment ways are not working anymore. I mean, I think that the electorate really understands this. Unfortunately, some of the establishment doesn't understand that. So I frequently call candidates like on our dais today, new guard candidates, because they don't take corporate PAC money. They want to get money out of politics. They believe that everybody should have health care, and that this economy is rigged, but is fixable. Absolutely fixable, right? And that working families, which is over 95% of the country, gets the shaft every day. So I think it's really important to hear these voices, and I think it's really important to hear about what's going on in these races. I remember when I was in Congress and running all three of my campaigns, it was hard in many ways. But in this environment, when there's 5 open seats basically in the state of Illinois, and then a bunch of state house and state rep and state senate races and county and all the things, right? It is a crowded time, and making sure that everybody's heard is hard. So this new guard group, it's really important to listen to them because they're our future. So I'm really looking forward to chatting with them today.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we started Just Democrats here on the Young Turks, and we could barely find 4 people who didn't take corporate PAC money in the whole country, right? And now, and these are not the only folks in Illinois doing that, but they're,
many.
But we bring 4 of them together in a candidate forum. It's amazing. And Maria, of course, was a former Just Democrat candidate and Congresswoman as well. All right, so let's bring them in now. We've got Kina Collins from Illinois 7. We got Bushra Amiwala from Illinois 9. That is a very interesting race. We've got Joey Ruzevich from Illinois 6 and Junaid Ahmed from Illinois 8. And Junaid, my favorite Turkish actor growing up was named Junaid, so I have a bias towards that. And Joey and the rest of you, I hope I didn't butcher your names too much. Okay, so at the end, we will do a rapid fire. That'll be fun too. But right now we're going to alternate questions. I'll start first. So let's start in the order that I said. Kina, I'll start with you. What made you want to get into politics in this race in the first place?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Cenk, on, and Marie for inviting us. I live in a plurality African-American district here in Illinois, and it is flanked by the west side and south side of the city of Chicago. And too often I saw millionaires and billionaires and wealthy white men, quite frankly, using the city of Chicago as a political punching bag when we talked about issues like gun violence. But nobody was addressing the root causes of how this violence happens. You can't talk about the violence in Black Chicago or the city of Chicago without talking about the economics. So if we are to address those issues, I think we needed people at the forefront who could talk about violence being public school shutdowns, lead in our water, toxins in our air, and piss poor leadership from people like Rahm Emanuel, who was bought and paid for by the billionaire class and corporate class. And so I really saw it as an opportunity for me to represent people who don't come from prestigious political backgrounds. I come from the background of 2 parents who are Black manufacturing union workers. And that's the political praxis I've brought to this race.
Yep, all right. Taking shots at Rahm Emanuel will always score you points on TYT. Okay, so look, hey guys, since there's so many candidates, we're gonna try to keep it as quick as possible. So let's go to Bushra next.
Yeah, Cenk and Marie, thanks so much for having me today. I decided to jump in this race because for the first time in almost 28 years, we have an opportunity to choose who we want to represent us in Washington. And this is a safe blue seat in a safe blue state. So the type of Democrat that we send is someone who has been born and raised in this community and lived here my entire life. I'm the daughter of immigrants and Trump's biggest nightmare. I've been elected and serving my community for the past 7 years and went on an informal market research tour asking who can you be excited about, and I'm proud to be that everything candidate in a crowded field that brings all of that wonderful traits, expertise, and experience to the seat.
All right, great. Joey.
Hey, Cenk, thank you for having me. I'm a big fan, and thank you to Marie for putting this together. So I am a software engineer who is running for Congress in Illinois' 6th Congressional District, which is actually not an open seat. I'm challenging the current incumbent, Representative Sean Casten. One of the main motivating factors for me to get in this race is that this particular district contains the largest number of Palestinians in any congressional district in the entire United States. And I was sick to my stomach watching my country tell us that we don't have money to replace the lead pipes in Chicago, to invest in education, to invest in public infrastructure, while all the while we have money to send to Israel to commit a genocide. And Representative Casten has stood by Israel and voted to send more weapons and money to them at every turn and refuses to meet with his constituents. And I'm also very concerned about artificial intelligence, how it affects the pocketbooks of everyday Americans with algorithmic price fixing, electricity costs going through the roof due to the data centers, and just the moral effect that it has on children and adults as well.
So Sean Casten, for those of you at home, is a candidate who Israel First put up against Marie back in the day, because Marie Newman was so courageous and voted against Israel once, and they were livid about it, and they financed Sean Casten in that race. So if Joey knocks out Casten, that would be amazing, and it would be very sweet to see that happen, at least from my perspective. Junaid.
Yes, hi. You know, a couple of things in my life happened that kind of got me thinking as to how policies can impact our lives. Number one, my son was in the hospital for literally one night and 2 days. Our hospital bill was almost $10,000. I was in Germany once for work. I was trying to talk to this guy, young guy in his 20s. What does your student debt look like? It took me a minute to get the question through to him. Then I realized there's no such thing over here. And at that time, for my wife, we were paying very high interest. And that's the time that coincided with Uncle Bernie running the first time. So that's how it was my first run with politics. We started holding Muslims for Bernie, Chai for Bernie. That's how I got into it the first time around. We had an incumbent who was at the time, 2018, who was all about corporate PAC money. Schaumburg area progressives needed someone who was standing for the right causes, and that's when we stood up against the corporate PAC money. This is my second run. This is an open seat now. First time was against an incumbent. This time it is an open seat. There are 8 candidates in the race. So to bring this time again it's against a failed machine person who is in this race now, Melissa Bean. But there are 8 candidates in the race. The race is between the top 2.
Okay, so of course, whenever you criticize Israel, you get called an anti-Semite. So Junaid just told you about Muslims for Bernie. Bernie is, of course, the most successful Jewish politician in American history, and almost all of us, maybe I can't speak for all of us were in favor and fought like hell to try to get him to be president, and super proud of that. All right, Marie, you're up next.
Well, thank you. So, Congress is a messy place, guys. I can say that with a great deal of confidence. So, because it is messy and you're dealing with a wide spectrum of people, and remember, we talked about the old guard versus the new guard and the establishment. Let's play a fun game called We Have a Great Sweep in 2026. Let's say that we get 35 seats. You are among that group, and you're in. And you want to do some transformative work. You're going there to be bold, right? But you also realize you're with this this amazing amount of inertia, a body of people that is just really prone to inertia. Even in the Democratic Party, even some progressives are trying to kind of ruffle feathers. So I'm going to ask each of you to share what will be your approach to make sure that you're sticking to your values and getting things done and doing the things that your district wants, but that you're actually working with these kind of old garden establishments. So tell me a little bit about your approach, and I'm going to start with Bushra.
So we see right now that when it comes to principles, there is no common ground or compromise. If you have someone that's arguing being pro-life and you have someone that wants to infringe on the rights of the LGBTQI+ community, there is no middle ground between that. But when it comes to things such as banning stock trading as a member of the House of Representatives, when it comes to expanding the economy and supporting middle class and having a progressive tax model, those are certain issues in which there could be bipartisan support. And that is what the North Star comes into. But again, bringing back to being elected in a safe blue seat, the responsibility is on a candidate and House members such as myself to push the needle and the envelope. And I'm lucky to not be the first. There are many champions in the House who I would be a great co-sponsor to for the existing work that they're already doing as well.
Great. So I'll go ahead and go to Kina if you want to share with us what your approach might be.
Yeah, we have to have a co-governance style of running these offices. The reason why Democrats got steamrolled is because we can't stop the hemorrhaging of young people, people of color, and women from the party. And it's because we're not giving them the opportunity to build in leadership and grow, and really we run on one thing as a party, and then when folks get in there, they completely forget that. Number two, we can't abdicate our responsibilities as organizers and this role. Just because you're going to legislate and we are holding the purse strings in Congress, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be building up block clubs and precinct captains and really districts like Illinois 7, which by the way, I didn't mention is also an open seat, should be an organizing hub for the Midwest and the Great Lakes. We know that a Democrat is going to win. It matters who that Democrat is. And here's the final thing I'll say, as a little bit of a bold statement, Marie. I'm not going in just giving my vote over for Speaker of the House. If you want to be Speaker of the House and you want to represent the folks in the city of Chicago that are flanked by the West Side and the South Side and places like the Provisos, you cannot take AIPAC money. You cannot take corporate PAC money. And so I think that what Democratic leadership has floated on and what Republicans have exploited is the respectability politics of people who come in and just yield to the party. We want to usher in a new generation of leadership that tells our party leadership and tells the folks in our party, you have to work for it in order to represent our people.
Great, thank you. Junaid, tell us a little bit about how you might do it.
I think it's important to understand who I am. I'm one of the 6 siblings here, youngest of the 6. So I grew up negotiating and dealing with situations, and I have 4 kids. I run a successful business. So a lot of negotiation just about all my life. I think when I'm in Congress, when I'm knocking doors here first, let's start with that. The one thing, even when I am just talking to someone who may be out in the grocery store who may not be on our side of politics, right? But when it comes to baseline issues, we are aligned. The people are struggling. Everybody, regardless of where their policies align. So the issue is really less than left versus right at this point. I think it's at the bottom versus the top. The billionaires taking away. And that's where I think there is a lot of opportunity for us to come together with people finding common grounds. That would be the first thing. Now, if there are certain things that we don't agree on, then at that point, we have to stand up for what is right, keep the the doors of communication channels open. And this is the first time ever that, to my knowledge, Maria, and maybe we can fact check this, I don't know of any political party person like State Central Committee woman, Christina Castro has endorsed me. And when I've openly said I'm not going to take any AIPAC money, I think the tide is changing. For the movement, things are heading in the right direction. We're not there yet, but things are getting better. And I think as we talk to the other side of the aisle, we got to focus on common issues that we are having. And then if sometimes we disagree, we agree to disagree and work together where we can.
Excellent, thank you. So Joey, you're rounding up the pack. So tell us a little bit how you might get things done in Congress.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to be coalition builders. And I think Kina hit the nail on the head with withholding your vote for Speaker of the House for Hakeem Jeffries in order to demand legislative concessions, such as a floor vote on Medicare for all. I think that's the first thing that we need to do. And then we can work with Republicans and people across the aisle that agree with us on things. I think Ro Khanna is an excellent example of doing this right now with Thomas Massie to push for the release of the Epstein files. These are common ground issues that are bipartisan support, massive support across the country. We can also do this with Medicare for all. You know, I have a lot of conservatives in my family, small business owners, and I talk to them about how Medicare for all will help their small businesses. They can compete with hiring top talent because they can no longer worry about the question of, do you offer health care? They can avoid paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to the insurance companies for the minimal health care coverage to their employees. They could reinvest that into the business. So these are things that we could talk to and work with to advance legislation that helps the everyday American. Finally, what I'll say is that we need to use our power in Congress to help other people get elected so that we build a voting bloc that has to be contended with, very similar to how the Republicans did with the Tea Party. We must do that with a progressive movement. We must break the unwritten rule in Congress of not helping people run against current incumbents because it's no longer enough to vote blue no matter who. We need to make sure we have anti-corporate, anti-war, New Guard Democrats being elected all over the country.
Excellent. Well said, and I think you're all ready. So I'll flip it back to Cenk now.
Yeah, so my God, how the world has changed. Because I remember when we were running the first Just Democrat campaigns back in 2018, it was just 6 years ago. Well, actually, bad math. Now 8 years ago. Okay, but saying that you would not vote for the Speaker of the House on your own side would have been unconscionable, right? And now, you guys are talking about not necessarily voting for Hakeem Jeffries. Saying anything criticizing Israel would have been unthinkable. And even interestingly enough, working with Republicans, people like Tom Massie, et cetera, if they're coming to the right side, which is our side, you guys are saying yes, which again, in the past, that would not have happened. So amazing changes here and really interesting actual progressive populist candidates here. So my question is about Israel. Now, there's layers, right? So Ro Khanna had a letter that he passed around Congress saying we should recognize Palestine. So of course he was called an anti-Semite, blah, 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 all that stuff, that's very normal. So then Delia Ramirez, also from Illinois, US Congresswoman, had a no more offensive bombs bill. And then the last layer of it is folks who are saying no funding for Israel, not another dollar. Okay, so let's start with Joey. Joey, how do you respond to all three of those? What would you do? Would you have signed the letter? Would you have joined Ramirez's bill, and would you go farther and say no more money?
So I, of course, deplore any type of hatred, anti-Semitism against any religion or any minority group of people. It's unacceptable, and we need to stand up for it. But criticism of the Israeli government is not anti-Semitism. So I would not agree with that definition. I absolutely would sign on to the Block the Bombs Act put forth by Representative Delia Ramirez, and thank you to her for having the courage to do that and champion that legislation, which, by the way, the individual I'm running against has refused to sign on to. Which only blocks the offensive weaponry, right? It doesn't even take away the defensive capabilities. And finally, yes, I would 100% cut off all aid and weapons to Israel immediately because they have been pursuing an absolute genocide for the last 2.5 years. They have starved and slaughtered innocent people. They should not be receiving American tax dollars and weapons.
Junaid?
Block the Bombs for publicly said that as soon as I win, I'm going to support Block the Bombs. Delia Ramirez is a good friend, and she has endorsed me as well. So in terms of support to Israel, I think it's about time Americans are realizing that we cannot be on the side of a genocide. More and more, the electeds may not be there, but the population is there. I'm talking to people, hundreds of people at the doors. It's it's an issue that people are unanimously. I'm yet to find someone who says, no, I want my tax dollars to go and starve children. So that policy, I think, is more and more populist at this point. It's unfortunate that our electeds are not siding with their own populations. That's the direction this Illinois' 8th congressional district we will be taking and being on the right side of history, and we are going in with that straight up approach.
All right, Kina.
So yes to all. This is such an important topic for candidates to be talking about. In 2024's primary, I was actually the only candidate in the entire state of Illinois that AIPAC actively spent money to oppose, because a month after October 7th, I got arrested with 130 other folks from If Not Now and Jewish Voice for Peace to say we need a ceasefire outside of the Israeli consulate. And at the time, people thought that it was too soon. AIPAC came in and they called me a defund the police candidate because 6 years ago, I called for the abolition of ICE. And they said I was dangerous for my community. What we're learning is that these special interest groups who are coming in and they're actually dangerous for our communities. And once again, a plurality African-American district like mine, that there's such a great, grave wealth disparity, a 30-year life gap based off of a 30-minute car ride between downtown Chicago and the south side of Chicago. I cannot justify to the families in my community that we do not have money to keep their schools open or have grocery stores, but we constantly have money to go to war. So this is not just the policy standpoint for me, this is a moral standpoint. And before we get to the point of writing blank checks in the Middle East, let's have a conversation about reparations, right? Let's have a conversation about education. So yes to all of those things, and I'm glad that more candidates are speaking out.
All right, Bushra.
So yes, absolutely would sign on to Rep. Khanna's letter to recognize a Palestinian statehood. Seems like table stakes and a no-brainer. Absolutely yes, would be a co-sponsor to Rep. Ramirez's piece of legislation, block the bombs. And yes, that is not enough. It needs to be $0 of aid and or any type of pennies from our taxpayer dollar that is given to Israel, which is complicit in a genocide in Gaza. And one little caveat I'll share is that I've been elected in Skokie. Fun fact about Skokie, one of the first Holocaust museums in our country is in Skokie, Illinois. I grew up taking anti-Semitism courses and training in high school. The first thing they teach you is any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic. I separate the state of Israel from the faith of Judaism, and that actually the conflation of two is what is resulting in the rise of anti-Semitism, which is true and real, but that does not take away from my stances on any of these 3 points today.
Yeah, look, we all respect and love the faith of Judaism. It doesn't mean that a foreign government is immune from criticism because of that. That makes no sense. I hope we all love Turks, but we're also allowed to criticize the Turkish government. So these are obvious things. All right, Marie, you're up.
Glad to ask the next question. I think it'll be interesting for particularly this group. So what I see across progressive candidates is that everybody says, shares a lot of platitudes like, oh gosh, healthcare is a right. Of course it is. Everyone should have healthcare. But then when you start picking at that scab a little bit, you learn that some candidates have a very different vision of, and remember, there can be a short-term strategy that's doing one thing, a longer-term strategy that's doing another. But tell me in specifics, and try not to use platitudes, guys. It just is my biggest pet peeve ever. Try not to use platitudes and tell me about your healthcare proposal. I'm going to go to Kina first.
Yeah, so this was my work that I did before I got elected. I was a national organizer with Physicians for a National Health Program. And my entire job, Marie, was to train 20,000 doctors and medical students across the country to fight for single payer. And so this is, like I said, we have a really strong case here in Illinois 7 about fighting for Medicare for all, eliminating copays, premiums, and deductibles. Because once again, we just got off the topic about building an economy from the bottom up. We just seen people's premiums skyrocket through the roof at the top of the year because this administration has no plan. A 30-year death gap that exists just based off of a 30-minute car ride. And this is wildly popular across the country. This is the #1 way that people are going into bankruptcy, Marie. And so this is an easy talking point for folks. So my stance is clear. Not only do I support Medicare for All, I'm coming in with a coalition of physicians who trained me, right? These are the frontline folks who were speaking to patients that were coming in and they're advocating for Medicare for All. And so that means culturally competent, fully accessible healthcare, Marie, we have a saying, everybody in, nobody out. Whether you are documented, undocumented, your status should not matter. And we have to make sure that we're protecting the hospitals and safety net providers as safe zones so that ICE is not coming in and raiding and people are getting the healthcare that they need. And finally, I'm pushing this more and more. Eliminate student loan debt so we can get more nurses and primary care physicians. But also, we now have to legally protect our providers and our physicians from being criminalized for doing their jobs, like performing abortions. So we need people who are gonna go in on the front line, not take corporate PAC money, call for Medicare for All, really mean it, work in tandem with the doctors and create a safe zone for our providers and for patients.
Thank you, Kina. I'm gonna go to Junaid, if you'd like to talk about your healthcare proposal.
Absolutely, I think it goes unsaid. I'm supporting universal healthcare, Medicare for All. But I think what is important as a legislature is I'll support any policy that gets us closer to that goal. Understanding that I'll be one of the 435 in the House. Working towards that policies, obviously, we'll continue to work on the long-term goal of getting Medicare for All. Hopefully we'll build that majority and get there. But in the short term, smaller things that will get us closer to that. Like how do you stop, pharma price gouging? Donald Trump is taking us backwards, right? How do we reverse those cuts and then expand coverage to all Americans in small steps that will take us closer to Medicare for All? It was what I would be going for. Like in short terms, I'm going to be picking smaller policies that will get us closer to that, working towards the end goal of Medicare for All.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Joey if you want to share your proposal.
Yeah, so Bernie Sanders was who got me into politics in the first place. So of course I'm a fan of Medicare for All, and we need to include eyes and teeth in that because it's ridiculous that they're not included right now in health insurance. I would also echo what Junaid said and say that any proposal that gets us closer to Medicare for All is worthwhile. I do not want to be an incrementalist when I get to Congress. I will always push for Medicare for All. I said previously that I will demand a floor vote for Medicare for All, because that lets us know who we need to primary in the next cycle. Because Medicare for All is a very popular policy position across the country. And so we need representatives that reflect the will and the desires of the base. And we can make these arguments to the other side in a lot of different ways. I mentioned before that it will help small businesses. Additionally, we can work with Republicans and say, hey, how about, this is an example from a cousin of mine in Virginia. He's a conservative. Joey, the way that you get Republicans on board is cover pregnant mothers and newborns 0 to 4 free healthcare, because that's the most important stage of a child's life, and nobody's going to be against it, right? God forbid a Republican says that he's against pregnant mothers and newborns. So that's how you get people on board and you move the ball forward while still maintaining your principles of wanting Medicare for All in the end.
Wonderful. Thank you. Bushra, will you share?
Of course. So the short-term plan is simple. It's bring back the ACA subsidies that have been cut through the Trump administration and expand them, and then close the state-level loopholes that currently exist for Medicare and Medicaid. Now, when building through a Medicare for All model, it's the only logical mode for our country to have a universal healthcare system because this infrastructure already exists. You have the same PAs, the same doctors, the same hospitals, and 62% of Americans want a Medicare for All model. And from the 33 industrialized countries in the world, we are the only ones that do not, because corporate insurance buys our candidates and elected officials on both sides of the aisle.
Thank you. Thank you, Cenk, go ahead.
All right, great. One more question for you guys, then we're gonna go to rapid fire. And this one's a tough one. So we're all in favor of getting money out of politics. None of you take corporate PAC money. Now the hard question, How? How would you go about trying to get money out of politics? On this one, let's start with Junaid.
Citizens United, you take care of that first. Secondly, I think this is a non-traditional way. I think what we do is we build. I'm an activist. I'm a community organizer, so I'm thinking in those lines. What we do is we pick the top, and we did this in the past. By the way, in 2022, we did it. What you do is you find your core base of supporters across the country, and then shame the electeds who are taking corporate PAC money, put them on the spot, and call them out from within their districts. Call them out. Someone like, be bold enough to call your colleagues that, hey, are you going to stand for the people when you're taking $1 million from pharma, $1 million from oil and gas? Somebody, when you talk to people, again, I am yet to find someone. I've heard from people that they will compromise. There's no other choice, but yet to find someone from within my district who says, yes, I'm okay with corporate PAC money in politics. They all want to see it gone, but they feel helpless. I think the one way to get there, obviously, getting Citizens United, but I think public shaming of elected officials, this is a non-traditional way. I think we can push people towards the right. And then you start, challenging. When people are not ready to give in, that's when you get the right challenger, and then you support the challenger. And I think that's what will eventually help us get there. And this could be a journey that may not necessarily take decades. It may take 4, 6, 8, 10 years if we effectively apply it.
All right, let's go to Kina.
We have to pass For the People Act, right? We want to put publicly financed, funded, campaigns across the country. We saw how that worked for Zoran Mamdani, right? He was able to speak freely about a lot of the ideas that people cared about in New York City from working class families, and he was able to match the donations that he was raising. And I think that the way that we have poured people have had to pour money into these campaigns is criminal. It is absolutely criminal. And I also think the fact that we have major corporations and big donors who can shield and hide behind how much money they put into these campaigns is ridiculous. So yeah, we need to overturn Citizens United. And I wouldn't even just say like run candidates. I agree. I think we need to be running single issue campaigns on educating the public about it. But we also need to be training them on grassroots tactics to push back, like house parties, right? Let's go back. If we're saying we want to pull the people in, the money is great, but people vote. And we want to make sure that we're getting those folks on our side and building those relationships.
All right. So again, times are different. I love the shaming of others taking the money, but that is not an answer that we would have gotten in the past. And all of you guys are saying things that are very different. So not different from today, but different from the past, which is what I love. All right, Bushra, let's go to you.
So Junaid and Kina summarized it very well. End Citizens United with this, which essentially turns off any dark and undisclosed money and unlimited money in politics. That also means that, agreed, we should have public financing for elections. Also, I think we need the integration of ranked choice voting across every single state for every single election level. And then finally, for House seats, we need term limits, but also the House term should be longer. I feel like all of that is banked into this conversation because once you get elected to the House, you start campaigning for your upcoming term that happens too, which I think has a negative impact on legislating. For me, I was offered corporate PAC money the very first time I ran for public office 8 years ago, and I made a fancy video on YouTube thinking it would go viral and people would applaud me for declining that money, and it didn't. But I agree, times are different and it's trending now, so glad to be a part of this wave.
Great. And Joey.
Yes, so shorter election cycles would help this. You don't have enough time to spend all that money. Spending caps on elections would be great because Citizens United is going to take a constitutional amendment to overturn. So that's going to be a bigger lift, not something that can just be done at the federal Congress. But I'm also a proponent of democracy dollars, which is a federal tax cut to every individual US citizen that they can only spend on elections. And so that way we are washing out the corporate corporate PAC money. It doesn't matter how much they bring in or how much they have. The people have money to give to the candidates that they feel represent their interests the most. And of course, I also agree with the ranked choice voting aspect as well. Every candidate gave great answers.
Yeah, Democracy Dollars, I believe, was from Professor Larry Lessig. He came up with that idea a while back. Godfather of the money out of politics movement. Love it. All right, so now we're gonna do rapid fire. These are gonna be mainly fun questions, but I'm gonna sneak in maybe a political question or two. So let's go the original order that I had. So we'll go, no, you know what, I'll mix it up. Bushra, Joey, Junaid, Kina, okay, each time. So, Bushra, let's start with you. Deep dish or tavern style?
Deep dish.
Oh,
Joey.
Sorry.
Tavern style on the daily, deep dish for special occasions.
Interesting, okay. Junaid.
Deep dish anytime.
Kina.
I'm gonna go tavern. Deep dish is a sick joke we play on tourists here in the city of Chicago.
Oh
Real
my.
Chicagoans know. Square cut, tavern.
Come on,
style
Pequods. You get a slice of Pequods, you can't go wrong.
Okay, I like how that one split the, that's the first question you guys disagreed on. Okay, so that's hilarious. All right, Bushra, pet peeve.
People that walk really slow when we're all walking outside. I'm a public transit person. Biggest pet peeve.
Okay, Joey.
People who chew loudly.
Junaid.
I was gonna say something. I'm gonna change it up. Sorry. I think just not people. I think my son burping on the dining table.
God, I love how honest these answers are. Okay, Kina, what do you got?
I hate a bandwagon fan. Like we just experienced this with the Bears. So like I can't stand a bandwagon person.
Okay, I love that one too because when I was growing up, all the Mets win the World Series. All of a sudden, there's nothing but Mets fans. I never saw any Mets fans growing up in Jersey. They were all Yankees fans until the World Series. Anyways,
exactly.
Okay, would you rather, Bushra? Would you rather do call time or root canal?
Root canal. Haven't had it, but I assume.
Joey.
Call time. I don't want physical pain. What?
All right, Junaid.
A call time.
Okay.
I don't want to hurt.
Root canal, but my poverty trauma is leaking out. I hate asking people for money.
Yeah, yeah. That's that's super fair, and no one likes that. It is. That's why it's a tough question. Okay, all right, Bushra, what is a skill you have that voters wouldn't expect?
I don't know if they'll do anything with this, but I'm really good at the toy claw machine, like to pick out a toy.
Oh, okay. Could be useful, okay? It could be useful for Junaid's son. Okay, Joey.
I don't know. I can dunk the basketball pretty well.
What are you talking about? That's awesome.
Yeah, I won a dunk contest in Valencia, Spain.
Okay, amazing. We hope you dunk on Sean Caston. Junaid.
Well, I can write AI programs.
Ooh.
That's very fancy. Fancy.
Okay, we might be able to use that too. All right, Kina.
Kina, on mute.
Muted. I can jump double dutch. Really well. That's my girl. A hood classic. A hood classic.
You got that
Kina
one on
wins
me.
that round for me. Kina wins that round. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, top priority for you in Congress. Ooh, snuck that one in, Bushra.
Advocating for paid family leave, especially with whether it be sick leave, your own personal mental health leave, caring for aging, retiring parents and or young children, when you have a kid, all the above.
Joey.
Breaking up monopolies to address the affordability and cost of living crisis across every major industry in the United States. That's the top priority.
Junaid.
So pretty much very close to what Joey said. I was going to say affordability, but on top of that, I think childcare. I'm hearing at the doors a lot of people struggling with childcare, with working moms going back to work. So that's something I'm going to be on top.
Kina.
Reopening the Office of Violence Prevention and advocating for permanent funding. It got closed. The 40,000 deaths per year by way of guns are 40,000 deaths that are preventable.
Yep. All right. Last one. An extracurricular activity you did in high school. Could be music, could be sports, could be anything. Bushra.
Debate was my sport in high school. It was obviously very cool.
Yeah, me too. Joey.
Automotive technology, learning the basics of how to take care of a car.
Oh, all right. I like it. Junaid.
I also did automotive. I love fixing cars.
Okay, you guys are from the Midwest. In New Jersey, we didn't do any of that. Okay. All right, Kina.
I took Korean in high school. 안녕하세요.
Okay. Whoa. Okay. You got to check out Physical 100, Physical Asia. There's so many good Korean shows now. All right. Yep. And that's badass that you could understand it in the original Korean. All right, guys, this has been amazing. So first of all, I want to thank Marie Newman. I actually think a literal American hero. So she showed courage when it was super difficult. She paid a high price for it that others wouldn't pay. And she put this together for us and we love it. Thank you, Marie. We appreciate you so much. And to all the candidates, guys, we're gonna put the links to all their websites in the description box. So make sure you're checking that out. If you want to find out more about them, go to their websites. And that's a great way to find out more. If you want to support them, remember, they're not taking corporate PAC money. So when people act courageously like that, you got to back them up, okay? Otherwise, we're never going to be able to take back Congress. So Kina Collins, Bushra Amiwala, Joey Ruzevich, and Junaid Ahmed. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for joining us today on TYT.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, much love, everybody. We'll see you on Monday.
Okay.